Chapter 988. Genius laughter reverberated in the surroundings. The surrounding cultivators all had ugly expressions as despair appeared in their eyes. Could it be that Lin Xian was really going to give up? But if that wasn't the case, why did he put away his martial soul and the half-earth step artifact? Lin Xian didn't explain anything to Genius' arrogant laughter and the crowd's confusion. He revolved the great dragon sword soul within his body, and his eyes became sharp once more. Sword chi surged out from his body, causing the surrounding space to distort and become chaotic. It was as if something terrifying was about to appear, and even the void couldn't withstand its pressure. In the next moment, a heaven-shaking dragon's roar resounded from Lin Xian's body. Then, 3 feet in front of him, a terrifying crack appeared, and a true dragon roared out. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the azure dragon's whiskers coiled, and then turned into a long sword. The hilt of the sword was formed from a dragon's head, while the body of the sword was formed from a true dragon's body. The entire sword had a strange shape, and carried with it an ancient aura. Of course, compared to this, the most terrifying thing was the pressure. It was as if a real true dragon had awoken. It was terrifying to the extreme. Seeing the azure dragon sword shadow, everyone was stunned. That was because the aura contained within it was too terrifying, making everyone feel endlessly shocked. Their bodies trembled, and they wanted to prostrate themselves in worship. What is that? It's so terrifying. The surrounding cultivators paled and retreated. Although this power made them feel uncomfortable, they were all excited. This was because this was a move that Lin Xian had used. They didn't think that Lin Xian would have such a terrifying trump card. With such a terrifying move, it would definitely be able to resist the other party's monster soul. The 3 gatekeepers had ugly expressions. The powerhouses from the spirit feather race and the giant race all had solemn expressions as they stared at the azure dragon-shaped sword shadow, their hearts trembling. The aura emitted by the azure dragon sword shadow was enough to threaten their lives. They didn't think that their opponent would have such a terrifying move. Genius' expression was even uglier. He was even closer to the azure dragon sword shadow. From the moment it appeared, his eyelids twitched and an inexplicable fear rose in his heart. This was a fear that came from his soul and bloodline. It wasn't something he could control. Damn it, what the hell is this thing? How can it make me feel fear? Impossible. This is impossible. He kept shaking his head, and there was a hint of madness in his expression. But the more it was like this, the more his body trembled. In the Immortal Martial Academy, several elders had heavy expressions on their faces as they stared at the azure dragon-shaped sword shadow. What a terrifying aura. What exactly is that sword shadow? The elders looked at each other. Sword spirit, that's his martial spirit. At this moment, Senior Xian's voice was steady as he spat out 2 words. What? Martial spirit. The elders were stunned when they heard this. Then they exclaimed, that's impossible. Isn't his martial soul the ice lotus? Seeing that Headmaster Xian didn't say anything else, the elders were shocked. Could it be that he has dual martial spirits? Although twin martial spirits were rare, they existed in this world. There were records of twin martial spirits appearing in history, and each one of them was a terrifying figure. These elders wouldn't doubt the existence of twin martial spirits. Since Headmaster Xian said that the sword shadow was a martial spirit, then it must be a martial spirit. And the ice lotus that Lin Xian displayed earlier was also a real martial spirit. Therefore, in their opinion, Lin Xian must be a twin martial spirit cultivator. Thinking of this, the elders' faces flushed red, and their breathing quickened. Ha ha ha. Who would have thought that he really has twin martial spirits? Who would have thought that our Immortal Martial Academy would have such a peerless genius? They were too happy. Who would have thought that Lin Xian's talent would be so high? Not only that azure dragon-shaped sword shadow was too terrifying. It definitely surpassed the ice lotus martial spirit. Such a martial spirit was definitely rare in the world. Headmaster Xian didn't care about the excited elders. He squinted his eyes, and stars flickered in his pupils as he stared at the dragon-shaped sword shadow in the air. He didn't know why, but when he looked at the sword shadow, he thought of an ancient legend. Before this, he thought that the legend was made up by the ancient people. But now he was shaken. This was because he realized that the Azure Dragon sword intent displayed by Lin Xian seemed to be very similar to an ancient legend. However, he wasn't sure about this matter. He still needed to investigate it carefully. Is this the person I've been waiting for? Mysterious indeed, Headmaster Xian muttered to himself. Lin Xian didn't know that the dragon-shaped sword shadow would cause such a huge commotion. At this moment, he slowly stretched out his hand and grasped the azure dragon-shaped sword shadow. The moment he clenched his fist, another loud and clear dragon roar was heard. Then, an invisible pressure surged out quickly, like a wave, instantly filling the entire Demon Slayer's world. At this moment, everyone's face turned pale, and they were trembling. In the entire demon-slaying world, all the demonic beasts were prostrating on the ground, their bodies trembling non-stop. In a few forbidden golden nests, those mature golden demonic beasts were roaring uneasily. They couldn't resist the formless pressure at all. As if they were worshipping a supreme king. All the demonic beasts in the demon-slaying world knelt down towards the White Bone Mountain. The experts of the spiritual feather race and the giant race were also scared. Their faces turned extremely ugly. That aura made them feel uncomfortable. Jinye's face was even darker. Cold sweat flowed down his forehead, and his entire body was soaked in sweat. This pressure was too terrifying. He felt like he couldn't resist it. Impossible, this is impossible. He screamed crazily in his heart. He couldn't believe that everything in front of him was caused by his opponent. Just the pressure from the sword shadow was too much for him to bear. In the next moment, his pupils shrank because he saw that Lin Xian had slowly raised the dragon-shaped sword shadow and aimed it at him. In an instant, his heart beat violently, as if it was going to jump out of his body. At the same time, he felt like he was on the verge of death. This made his entire body feel extremely cold. This feeling was very uncomfortable. It was something he had never felt before. However, he didn't doubt that if his opponent slashed down with that sword, it would definitely take his life. I admit defeat. Jinyu didn't dare to joke around with his life. He could only hurriedly speak. As his voice rang out, there was an uproar. The surrounding cultivators were all stunned. They didn't expect that instead of seeing the stunning sword, they would be waiting for Jinyu to admit defeat. However, when they thought about it, they understood. The dragon-shaped sword shadow was too mysterious and too terrifying. Just the pressure alone was enough to split their bodies. It was a wise choice for Jinyu to admit defeat. Lin Xian was also very surprised when he heard that Jinyu had admitted defeat. However, he still nodded slightly. In the next moment, he circulated his spiritual energy and withdrew the great dragon sword soul back into his body. The moment the great dragon sword soul disappeared, Jinyu heaved a sigh of relief. His heart also calmed down. Chapter 989. No one would have thought that the battle between Lin Xian and Jinyu would end with Jinyu admitting defeat. Before this, they had imagined countless scenarios. They even imagined that Lin Xian would go all out and fight to a draw with his opponent. However, they didn't expect the Guardian to admit defeat. Not only did the crowd not expect this, even the two experts from the Spirit Feather tribe and the Giant tribe didn't expect this. They sighed and shook their heads. They knew that Jinyu had his reasons for saying this. They had a certain understanding of Jinyu and knew that he was an extremely conceited person. Even the expert from the Spirit Feather tribe couldn't make him submit. Now that Jinyu had admitted defeat, it meant that he couldn't withstand the sword. He didn't even have the slightest confidence. Only in this way could Jinyu willingly admit defeat. Thinking of this, the two guardians were shocked. Their strength was on par with Jinyu. Since Jinyu couldn't withstand the sword, they wouldn't be able to withstand it either. They didn't expect that such a terrifying expert would appear among the humans. At this moment, on the White Bone Mountain, all the disciples of the Immortal Martial Academy were looking at Lin Xian. Their eyes were filled with excitement. In the end, they couldn't help but shouting Lin Xian's name. Is this the junior brother Lin I know? Too powerful. Too powerful. Su Yu and the rest felt as if they were dreaming. This kid hid his strength really well. I didn't expect him to have the strength to defeat the Guardian. The twin demons of black and white couldn't help but praise. They looked at Lin Xian with admiration in their eyes. One had to know that the two of them were arrogant people. They didn't even submit to Li Yunfei and the rest. But now they were full of admiration for Lin Xian. It couldn't be helped. The last sword was too terrifying. Although it didn't slash out, the aura it exuded was enough to intimidate everyone. Didn't they see that the powerful guardian, Jinyu, had admitted defeat? Morong Qingqian looked at that tall and straight figure in the sky, a faint smile appearing on the corner of her mouth. She knew that Lin Xian would win in the end because she believed in him. Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei also stopped fighting and looked at Lin Xian. The two of them nodded slightly. Dugu Outyin revealed a bright smile. Junior brother Lin, good job. You are very strong. I take back what I said before, Li Yunfei said seriously. Not only the demon realm, the entire immortal martial academy was in a state of celebration. Near the true martial lake, Lin Xian's name was being chanted by everyone. It shook the 9 heavens, and several elders were also extremely excited. They were constantly praising him. Din Xian looked at the figure in the sky and nodded her head in satisfaction. At this moment, Lin Xian had become the idol of the immortal martial academy, a character who stood at the pinnacle like Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei. Lin Xian could feel the cheers and adoration coming from all directions, and he revealed a satisfied smile. He exhaled heavily, and a smile appeared on his pale face. Although he didn't manage to slash out in the end, summoning the great dragon sword soul had consumed a lot of his strength. Fortunately, he won in the end. My mission has been completed. The rest is up to the 2 seniors. Lin Xian raised his head and smiled at the 2 figures in the distance. Hearing Lin Xian's words, Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei smiled as well. Lin Xian's victory allowed them to completely relax. As for their battle, although they didn't have 100% certainty of winning, it was too easy for them to fight to a draw. One must know that they had fought with each other more than once. Hence, they were very clear about the strength of both sides. It was very normal for them to fight to a draw. Moreover, they didn't plan to drag it on any longer. For a moment, Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei both used their full strength and fought with their opponents again. Boom! All kinds of terrifying lights once again enveloped the sky. Lin Xian glanced at the 2 of them indifferently, then turned and flew down. He knew that there was no suspense in this battle. As long as Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei didn't go easy, a draw would happen sooner or later. Seeing Lin Xian flying over, everyone cheered again. Lin Xian smiled and waved at them. Then he landed on the ground. How are you? Are you hurt? Morong Qingqiang's figure flashed and arrived beside Lin Xian. I'm fine. I just used up a lot of energy, Lin Xian said with a smile. Next, Lin Xian took out spiritual wine and spiritual pills from his storage ring and quickly consumed them to recover the spiritual power in his body. Then he raised his head and looked at the sky. The battle in the sky was abnormally fierce. It wasn't inferior to his previous battle at all. The terrifying energy fluctuations made him extremely shocked. Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei were worthy of being the top influential figures. The 2 of them were very powerful. After a fierce collision, the powerhouses of the spiritual feather race and giant rock race also retreated. There's no need to continue fighting, the spiritual feather race powerhouse said coldly. If we continue fighting, it will only be a draw. Why don't we stop here? Okay. Dugu Outyin also withdrew his longsword. On the other side, Li Yunfei and the powerhouses of the giant rock race also stopped fighting. Hearing this voice, everyone was stunned. Then, they became excited again. A draw. 2 draws. In addition to Lin Xian's victory, they had passed the final challenge. In other words, they had completed the Guardian's challenge and could enter the final demon blood pool. Thinking of this, everyone shouted excitedly. Their hard work for so long was finally not in vain. Of course, all of this was thanks to 3 people. They were Lin Xian, Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei. In an instant their names were shouted by everyone. Their voices spread throughout the entire demon-slaying world. At this moment, Lin Xian and the other 2 became the heroes of the Immortal Martial Academy. And Lin Xian also relied on this battle to successfully become the top figure of the Immortal Martial Academy. He was no longer an ordinary new student. Instead, he was a top genius like Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei. Looking at the deafening cheers, The three spiritual feather race powerhouses said coldly, "You have passed the final challenge. This is the reward you deserve." Then, a golden light shot out from the spiritual feather race's bullet towards Duguoutian. And Jinyu from the giant rock race, and the golden crow race, also shot out rays of light towards Li Yunfei and Lin Xian. Lin Xian stretched out his hand and caught the golden light in the air. Then he opened his palm. He discovered that it was a golden demon core. Light flowed on it, and it contained a powerful energy. Golden demon core. Lin Xian was pleasantly surprised. He discovered that this golden demon core was slightly stronger than the one he had killed before. Obviously, these 3 gold demon cores were the rewards for the 3 of them succeeding in their challenge. The surrounding people looked at the golden demon cores with envy in their eyes. However, they also knew that this was what Lin Xian and the other 2 deserved. Next, it should be the final demon blood pool. Chapter 990. Lin Xian smiled slightly. With a flip of his palm, he took out 2 more demon cores. One of them was the demon core of the gold demon beast that he killed, while the other was a demon core that emitted a faint golden light. These 2 demon cores added together, the energy was about the same as the one in Lin Xian's hand. So Lin Xian gave these 2 demon cores to Morong Qingcheng. Seeing this scene, everyone opened their eyes wide, not daring to believe it. They did not expect that Lin Xian actually still had 2 gold demon cores in his hands, and even gave them away. Even Li Yunfei and Duguoutian were slightly surprised too, although they knew that Lin Xian and Morong Qingcheng's relationship was not shallow. These gold demon cores were very precious. This was related to the good fortune of the demon blood pool. That kind of temptation was probably not something that anyone could give up. But now, Lin Xian gave them away without the slightest hesitation. Morong Qingcheng revealed a beautiful smile and extended her lily-white hand, putting down those 2 gold demon cores. Her smile was like a flower, and Lin Xian's figure was reflected in her eyes. Lin Xian smiled bitterly and rubbed his nose. "Don't look at me like that. These demon cores are something that you deserve." "Umph." Morong Qingcheng snorted lightly and wrinkled her cute nose. Then, she shot a glance at Lin Xian. In that gaze, there was a different kind of flirtatious look. On the entire white bone, everyone was abnormally excited, because they could enter the demon blood pool very soon. However, they did not act rashly. Instead, they patiently waited for Lin Xian trio to recover their strength. Half a day later, Lin Xian, Duguoutian, and Li Yunfei opened their eyes, then slowly stood up. Following the 3 people's actions, the surrounding martial artists' hearts also gradually became excited, because they knew that the final moment was finally coming. Duguoutian stood up, swept his gaze around, and said in a clear voice, "Everyone, I believe that everyone has been waiting for a long time. Then let's go to the demon blood pool now." Hearing this voice, the surrounding cultivators' emotions completely exploded, and they all cheered to their heart's content. Duguoutian and Li Yunfei soared into the sky and flew toward the back of the White Bone Mountain. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth also curled up slightly. He flew into the sky side by side with Morong Qingcheng. Behind him, the twin ghosts of Black and White, Su Yueshua, and the others followed closely behind. After Lin Xian and the other 2 made their move, the surrounding cultivators also made their moves. Spiritual energy radiated from their bodies, covering the sky and earth as they flew forward. For a moment, the entire void was illuminated. The sound of wind whistling could be heard, and the scene was extremely spectacular. Very quickly, Lin Xian and the others crossed the huge White Bone Mountain and arrived at the back of the mountain. He looked at the scenery downwind and froze. How was this a demonic blood pool? This was simply a gigantic lake. Below, there was an incomparably huge lake surrounded by mountains. The lake water was incomparably blood-red, as if it was fresh blood, emitting an astonishing amount of energy. This is the demon blood pool? It's indeed extraordinary. Just feeling this aura makes me feel comfortable all over, Lin Xian exclaimed. This demon blood pool is very magical. It's said that after an unimaginably powerful demon king died, it evolved from all the blood in his body. It contains indescribable power, Duguoutian said from the side. Then, he turned around and said to everyone again, The demon cores in your hands determine the time you can stay in the demon blood pool. I hope that you'll make good use of your own situation and not miss this opportunity. Alright, let's go in now. After saying that, he took the lead and turned into a sword gleam, instantly disappearing into the huge blood-red lake below. Li Yunfei's figure also floated like a banished immortal, quickly descending. Lin Xian and the others did not delay any longer and flew down. At this time, the dark red divine dragon also sent a voice transmission. Kid, the demon blood pool is probably quite useful to me. Oh, hearing that, Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Needless to say, the dark red divine dragon's function was extremely profound. It had mastered extremely profound formations. However, with its cultivation that had just advanced into the Exalt realm, there were too many profound formations that it was unable to utilize. If the demon blood pool was able to allow it to recover some of its strength, then it would be extremely beneficial to Lin Xian in the future. How many demon cores do you need? I'll give them to you, Lin Xian said. No need. The demon cores are prepared for you humans. I'm a divine beast myself, so I don't fear the demonic aura in the demon blood pool at all. That's true, I forgot. Lin Xian patted his head. In that case, you can recover to your heart's content. The two conversed, and then Lin Xian disappeared into the huge blood-red lake. As soon as Lin Xian entered, he felt a dense demonic aura that was extremely terrifying. Fortunately, the golden demon core in his hand released a wave of energy that quickly blocked the demonic aura. Then he felt a pure energy surrounding him. As long as he was willing to absorb it, the energy would immediately fuse into his body and transform into pure spiritual power. As expected of the demon blood pool, it's really magical. Lin Xian took a deep breath. Then, he and Morong Qingqing each found a place to sit cross-legged and quickly absorbed the energy around them. Not only that, Lin Xian even released the dark red divine dragon, the snow-white little monkey, the golden-feathered mystical eagle, and little gold to let them absorb the energy in the demon blood pool. Since they were all demonic beasts, they did not need demon cores to enter the demon blood pool. In an instant, the huge demon blood pool was filled with figures. Every warrior looked excited as they circulated the mystic arts in their bodies to quickly absorb the energy in the demon blood pool. The dark red divine dragon was even more excited. It was like a swimming dragon that swam around the entire demon blood pool. It used some unknown secret technique to quickly absorb the energy. Time passed slowly. Half a day later, many warriors left the demon blood pool because the demon cores in their hands could not support them to continue absorbing the energy. If they forced themselves to stay in the demon blood pool, their bodies would probably be torn apart by the ferocious demonic aura. A day later, even more warriors left. However, these people looked excited. It seemed that they were quite satisfied with their harvest. 2 days later, there were very few warriors left in the demon blood pool. To be able to last for 2 days, they must have a large number of silver-grade demon cores in their hands. And those who could obtain these silver-grade demon cores were extremely powerful warriors. Bing Ling opened her eyes and looked at the silver-grade demon core in her hand that had dimmed. She shook her head slightly and left the demon blood pool in a flash. After that, the black-white double ghosts and the others left one after another. In the end, there were only 4 people left in the demon blood pool. They were Lin Xian, Morong Qingqing, Dugu Aoyan, and Li Yunfei. As challengers, Lin Xian and the other 2 were rewarded with gold-grade demon cores, so they could last longer. Morong Qingqing also had 2 gold-grade demon cores, so she could continue to stay. Chapter 991. Lin Xian closed his eyes and quickly activated the longevity art. At that moment, he had broken through the 3rd firmament of the Venerable Realm and reached the 4th firmament of the Venerable Realm. It had to be said that the speed of his breakthrough was too fast. Of course, it had to do with his hard work. One had to know that before this, he had experienced countless soul-stirring battles, which was why he had obtained this precious opportunity. Moreover, the longevity art in his body was also extraordinary and mysterious. Its effect was much better than other people's cultivation methods. The speed of absorption and transformation was also terrifying. At that moment, Lin Xian had reached the fourth firmament of the Venerable Realm and was charging towards the fifth firmament. After reaching the fourth firmament of the Venerable Realm, the rapid improvement slowed down, because the energy required to go from the fourth firmament to the fifth firmament of the Venerable Realm was more than the previous four firmament combined. This also proved that the ninth firmament of the Venerable Realm was harder to cultivate. However, Lin Xian did not want to let go of this opportunity. He recalled that there was still an energy ball left behind by King Pillfeather in the mysterious dagger. Therefore, he wanted to absorb the two energies together and see if he could break through to the fifth firmament of the Venerable Realm. He separated a portion of his soul power and sent it into the mysterious dagger. He wanted to pull out the energy ball left behind by King Pillfeather. However, in the next moment, before he could touch the energy ball, the black Thousand Beast Cauldron suddenly trembled. The Thousand Beast Cauldron trembled violently and emitted a black light. On the cauldron, strange beasts quickly swam as if they were alive. This phenomenon directly alarmed Lin Xian. He did not expect the Thousand Beast Cauldron to change at this time. However, before he could react, the black light on the cauldron spun rapidly and formed a black vortex. In the next moment, a terrifying devouring power surged out and quickly spread in all directions, absorbing the energy in the pool of blood. Soon, the entire demon blood pool surged rapidly. Endless blood surged and gathered towards Lin Xian. This phenomenon was very weak at first, but it became more and more intense. In the end, even Morong Qingqing, Dugu Outyin, and the others were alarmed. They all opened their eyes and withdrew from their cultivation to look at this scene in shock. What? This Lin Xian is crazy. Li Yunfei's expression was grave. It was likely that no one would be able to withstand such a rate of absorption. Dugu Outyin was also stunned. He could not understand why Lin Xian would be so impulsive. Morong Qingqing was even more surprised. She couldn't help but want to go up and interrupt. Fortunately, Lin Xian sent her a voice transmission to let her know that everything was fine. Hearing Lin Xian's voice, Morong Qingqing felt relieved. If a cultivator were to absorb so much energy at once, they would likely explode and die. However, Lin Xian was different. Although the energy surged into his body, it was not absorbed by him. Instead, it flowed into the 10,000 Beast Cauldron. Therefore, he was only a medium in the middle of the journey and was not in much danger. Moreover, the cleansing of this pure energy made his body even stronger. However, the commotion was getting louder and louder. Even the dark red dragon could not help but ask, "Kid, what the hell are you doing? This place is not normal. Don't act recklessly. If you alarm something extraordinary, it will be fun." Hearing this, the corner of Lin Xian's mouth twitched. He quickly replied, "It's not me. It's the 10,000 Beast Cauldron. I can't do anything about it." He tried to use his soul power to control the 10,000 Beast Cauldron to interrupt the energy absorption. However, he realized that it was useless. Hearing that it was the 10,000 Beast Cauldron's doing, the dark red dragon did not say anything else. Instead, it absorbed even more frantically. It had a feeling that the 10,000 Beast Cauldron's actions would definitely attract some trouble. Sure enough, not long after, a low voice suddenly sounded from the bottom of the demon blood pool. Like a muffled thunderclap, the voice came from deep underground. Hearing this voice, everyone's hair stood on end. The dark red dragon was shocked. It quickly returned to Lin Xian's side with the snow-white monkey and the other two demon beasts. Then with a whoosh, it entered the demon beast pouch. Dugu Outyin and the others opened their eyes again. Their eyes were filled with shock. They did not expect such a terrifying sound to come from the bottom of the demon blood pool. Just this voice alone was enough to cause their blood to boil, and their bodies to almost split apart. In the next moment, a terrifying force came, instantly enveloping Lin Xian and pushing him up quickly. In an instant, Lin Xian and the others were pushed out by this force. Fortunately, this force was very gentle. It only pushed them out and did not cause them any harm. Outside, near the huge demon blood pool, everyone waited patiently. Suddenly, Chi Hao opened his eyes with a serious expression. "Are they coming out? But this time shouldn't be. It's a little earlier than expected. The black-white double ghosts and the others were also puzzled. However, in the next moment, they saw 4 blood-red light pillars rushing out quickly. They were dozens of feet tall. Boundless blood fell, revealing 4 figures. They're coming out. Everyone stood up when they saw Lin Xian and the others. In the sky, Dugu Outyin and the other 2 looked at Lin Xian with strange expressions. Morong Qingqing glanced at him and said with a sweet voice, "You brat, you always make things so dangerous. You make us worry for nothing." Lin Xian smiled bitterly and rubbed his nose. "Everyone, I'm sorry. I didn't expect there to be such a terrifying big guy in the demon blood pool. Forget it. It's only a little earlier anyway. Moreover, we've gained quite a lot this time." Dugu Outyin shrugged and did not say anything else. Li Yunfei also took a deep look at Lin Xian, then turned around and flew down. Lin Xian also sighed. Originally, he wanted to fuse the 2 forces together to break through to the 5th heaven of the Venerable Realm. He did not expect it to cause an abnormality in the Thousand Beasts cauldron. Damn that stupid cauldron. It caused such a big mess. Lin Xian cursed in his heart. He also pulled Morong Qingqing down. "What's going on? Why did you come out early?" Seeing Lin Xian and Li Yunfei land, the black-white double ghosts walked up. "It's nothing. There was a small accident," Lin Xian said. "Hey, you've broken through to the 4th heaven of the Venerable Realm." Seeing that Lin Xian was unwilling to say more, the black-white double ghosts did not pursue the matter. Instead, they looked at him and exclaimed when they sensed his aura. Originally, they wanted to close the gap, but it seemed that the gap was getting wider and wider. The black-white double ghosts looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They had also broken through to the 4th heaven of the Venerable Realm. However, their auras were much weaker than Lin Xian's. Lin Xian's current aura was at least at the mid-4th heaven of the Venerable Realm. The black-white double ghosts looked around and realized that Morong Qingqing's aura was similar to Lin Xian's. Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei's auras were even more terrifying. They were even stronger than Lin Xian's. In fact, this was very normal. The 2 of them had a higher cultivation than Lin Xian before. It was not a big deal that their cultivation was still higher. Chapter 992. Not only did his strength increase, but the cultivation of the dark red divine dragon, the snow-white monkey, and the other beasts had also increased. Especially the dark red divine dragon. It had risen to the 3rd heaven of the honorable realm. It seemed like this guy had used some secret technique. As for the snow-white monkey, it was still the same as before. It looked extremely cute, and no one could tell what its cultivation level was. However, Lin Xian would not underestimate it. After all, the dark red divine dragon's tail was still no match for the snow-white monkey. This made the dark red divine dragon even more depressed. It was infuriated to be suppressed by a little thing. "Kid, hurry up and get me the dragon blood, or go find the heavenly netherbird." "Don't worry, I will definitely do those 2 things," Lin Xian comforted. Although the dark red divine dragon was anxious, this matter could not be rushed. It had to be prepared slowly. "All right, everyone. We have stayed in the demon-slaying realm for quite some time, and everyone has completed the transformation of the demon blood pool. I think it's time to leave this place," Dugu Outyin said in a clear voice. Everyone's heart skipped a beat, and they all quieted down. At the same time, their hearts were pounding. Many of them clenched their fists and their eyes shone brightly. They had all gained a lot from this demon-slaying gathering, and they wondered if they could make it to the Mystic Honorable Ranking Board. As for the experts who were already on the Mystic Honorable Ranking Board, they were even more confident. This time, they wanted to get a better ranking. Everyone was excited, and they could not wait to return to the Immortal Martial Academy. Immortal Martial Academy, True Martial Lake. Countless disciples gathered here, and they did not disperse. They all looked up at the sky. The battle between the 3 challengers and the gatekeeper had shocked them, and they could not extricate themselves from it for a long time. That scene was too awesome, especially the battle between Lin Xian and Jinyu. It could be said to be a classic. This kind of battle was rare, and under normal circumstances, they would not be able to see such a high-level battle. It was only at the demon-slaying gathering that they could see the glory of the top experts. Moreover, what surprised them was that Lin Xian, a new student, was actually so powerful. He was not any weaker than Dugu Aotian and Li Yunfei. They also knew that after this demon-slaying gathering, Lin Xian would become one of the top experts in the academy. This was an honor, a miracle. Even Dugu Aotian and Li Yunfei would need a very long time to achieve this feat, however. Lin Xian had only entered the academy for a short period of time, yet he had already accomplished this feat. This speed could only be described as terrifying. Just as the disciples below were exclaiming in shock, Principal Xian and a few elders weren't idling around either. Especially Dean Xian. He took out the compass from before and quickly infused it with spiritual energy. Then, the compass shone brightly and formed 12 ancient characters again. They floated in the air and formed a mysterious door. It didn't take long for the mysterious light door to slowly open. It started to tremble slightly, and then the void started to fluctuate. Countless rays of light gushed out from the mysterious light door and filled the sky above the true Martial Lake. "They're out! They're out!" It wasn't anyone who cried out in surprise. Immediately, everyone looked up at the sky excitedly. When they saw the figures of Lin Xian, Dugu Aotian and the others, they immediately shouted excitedly. The disciples of the Dragon Sword Pavilion were especially excited. They were all shouting Lin Xian's name loudly, their voices shaking the surroundings. When Lin Xian heard the cheers from below, he felt relaxed and happy. After such a long battle, he was finally back. The other cultivators were also excited. As they looked down, a sense of pride rose in their hearts. Although the gatekeepers were powerful this time, the demonic blood pool was also very rich. Everyone had improved tremendously. They would definitely surpass the other martial artists who didn't participate in the demon-slaying gathering. Just as everyone was getting excited, the towering black stone monument within the Immortal Martial Academy suddenly emitted a resplendent light. The names that were originally written on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard disappeared and were replaced by unfamiliar names. It changed. It actually changed. Seeing the changes on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard, everyone looked at the stone tablet in the distance and exclaimed. Even Lin Xian and the others were stunned. They didn't expect the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard to change at this time. Soon someone shouted excitedly, "It's up, it's up! My name is actually on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard. Ha 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 ha, I'm so happy." It was a senior who had tried many times to get on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard, but had never succeeded. This time, he had just come out of the demon-slaying realm, and his name had risen to the 99th place on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard. Although he was at the bottom, he had actually made it onto the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard. What's going on? Everyone looked at each other. At this moment, an elder in the sky slashed out and said loudly, "Because your cultivation level has greatly increased in the demon-slaying realm, you didn't have to go through a challenge this time. The Mystic Honorable Leaderboard will judge you directly. Of course, if you're defeated in the future, your names will fall off the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard again. The Mystic Honorable Leaderboard will judge us." Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Then, their breathing quickened, and they were extremely excited. They circulated their spiritual power with all their might, and displayed their strongest power. Originally, after they came out, they wanted to rest for a few days, and go into seclusion to challenge the experts on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard to get on the leaderboard. However, they didn't expect the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard to judge them as soon as they came out, and they were already on the leaderboard. This had never happened before. Thinking about it, this must have happened because the demon-slaying conference had improved too much this time, far surpassing the previous ones. Below, the crowd was even more excited. They all stared nervously at the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard, witnessing this historic moment. It's changed, it's changed. Seeing the names of the powerhouses being replaced one by one, the crowd began to cry out in surprise. Look, the top 10 of the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard has also changed. That's Jiang Yan. His ranking has changed. He's risen from the 8th place to the 6th place. Qi Hao's ranking has dropped. He's now the 7th place. Seeing the changes in the rankings of these super powerhouses, the crowd cried out in surprise. This was because the top 10 of the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard were very special. Each of them was a super powerhouse. These people dominated the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard all year round, and rarely had their rankings changed. Every change was accompanied by an extremely intense battle. Moreover, there weren't many challenges of this level. Therefore, there had never been such a huge change in the top 10 of the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard. It's changed again. Morong Qingqing is now the 5th place. The crowd cried out in surprise. Sure enough, Morong Qingqing's name appeared above Jiang Yan's. She was now the 5th place. Although Morong Qingqing rarely made a move, everyone who had seen her in action was still shocked beyond words. Chapter 993. They were not unhappy that Morong Qingqing was ranked higher than them. Moreover, they did not plan to challenge Morong Qingqing again in the near future. Although the others had not seen Morong Qingqing in action, they knew that Morong Qingqing and Lin Xian had killed the gold-ranked demonic beast. That was a major event that was recorded in the history of the demon-slaying world. This was enough to make them 5th on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard. Where's Lin Xian? Just as the crowd was discussing and paying attention to the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard, someone raised this question. That's right. Lin Xian was so strong. His ranking would definitely be very high. Everyone turned their heads and looked carefully at the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard. Under everyone's gaze, Lin Xian's name appeared in 3rd place. 3rd. Seeing Lin Xian appear in the 3rd place, everyone was in an uproar. Although they had already guessed that Lin Xian might make it to the top 3, they were still shocked when they saw it with their own eyes. The top 3 on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard were the most influential people. They were even more famous than the top 10. In the past, the 3rd place was Red Pagoda. However, he did not participate in the demon-slaying conference. Now he had fallen to 4th place. The 3rd place on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard was actually a new student. He was probably the youngest person in the history of the Immortal Martial Academy to be ranked 3rd. Dugu Outyin looked at Lin Xian and chuckled. Junior brother Lin, congratulations. Li Yunfei also nodded slightly and said, You deserve it. Thank you both. Lin Xian replied with a smile. He was not surprised by this ranking. However, Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei's names did not change, which disappointed him. He originally thought that he could pull one of them down. However, he did not plan to challenge them now. 3rd place on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard was already very good. Moreover, he had exposed his Great Dragon Sword Soul in the previous challenge. Therefore, it was better not to make a move for the time being. He did not want others to know about all his trump cards. He would only be able to survive if he kept his trump cards hidden. Not long after, the new Mystic Honorable Leaderboard was released. The 1st place was still Dugu Outyin. 2nd place was Li Yunfei. 3rd place was Lin Xian. And 4th place was the original 3rd place, Red Buddha. However, this person didn't participate in this monster-slaying gathering. 5th place was Morong Qingqing. 6th place was Jiang Yan. 7th place was Qi Hao. The 8th was Lu Chang. In the final battle, Lin Xian had forced him to slay the demon realm, and he had missed the opportunity to enter the demon blood pool. As a result, his ranking dropped significantly. In the crowd, Lu Chang looked at the rankings on the Mystic Sovereign Leaderboard. He was so angry that his entire body trembled. His face could not be any darker. He stared at Lin Xian's figure in the sky, his eyes full of murderous intent. He wanted nothing more than to kill him. It was all because of that damned little thief that he was kicked out of the monster-slaying realm. Otherwise, he might have been able to make it into the top 3, after obtaining the good fortune of the monster blood pool. Now he couldn't have any of that. Lin Xian, I will never let you off. I want you dead. Lu Chang's expression was ferocious. On the other side, Tang Er looked at the changes on the Mystic Sovereign Leaderboard, and his face darkened. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Originally, he had defeated the veteran powerhouses in the monster-slaying realm, and became a super powerhouse who ranked 9th on the Mystic Sovereign Leaderboard. However, he had now been pushed down to 14th place. Although he was angry, he didn't dare to cause trouble for Lin Xian anymore. In the final battle, Lin Xian's battle with Jin Yu was still deeply imprinted in his mind. That level of battle was far from what he could compare to. Therefore, not only did he not dare to cause trouble for Lin Xian, but he was also afraid that Lin Xian would cause trouble for him. In an instant, those who had clashed with Lin Xian became cautious, while the other disciples crazily requested to join the Dragon Sword Pavilion. As for these matters, Lin Xian left them to Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong and the others. He brought Morong Qingcheng and bid farewell to everyone before returning to the freshman courtyard. When they arrived at the freshman courtyard, Lin Xian looked at Morong Qingcheng and said, "Go back and have a good rest. You've been tired these few days." "Okay." Morong Qingcheng smoothed her hair and looked at Lin Xian. She said gently, "Don't work too hard." Then, she turned and entered the courtyard. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled slightly as he watched the pretty figure disappear, before he also entered his own courtyard. Next, he began to consolidate his cultivation. This time, he had advanced by a level. It could be said that his progress was very fast. He had to stabilize his level. Otherwise, if his foundation wasn't strong enough, his future martial path would be very dangerous. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed since the monster-slaying conference. Everyone's excitement gradually died down, and the Immortal Martial Academy returned to its peaceful state. However, in their free time, everyone would still talk about the monster-slaying conference, especially the battle between the three challengers. Many disciples took delight in talking about it, especially Lin Xian. He had almost become a legend in the Immortal Martial Academy. He was the goal of countless new disciples. However, the person in question, Lin Xian, rarely appeared in front of everyone, because these days, he was in seclusion to consolidate his cultivation. Today, Lin Xian finally opened his eyes. His eyes were deep, like the stars in the sky. The aura on his body was abnormally strong. Streaks of dazzling sword chi surrounded his body, making him look like a sword god. In the next moment, he took a deep breath, and all the phenomena disappeared into his body. His cultivation base had basically stabilized and even improved. It seemed like it was time to come out of seclusion. Lin Xian stood up. In this half a month of cultivation, his cultivation base had completely stabilized at the fourth heavenly layer. Compared to when he was in the monster-slaying conference, his aura was much stronger, because in this half a month, not only did he consolidate his cultivation base, he also used his free time to absorb the energy crystal left behind by King Dan Feather in the mysterious dagger. This time he didn't absorb it quickly. Instead, he took it slowly and steadily. Therefore, his cultivation base was also slowly and steadily increasing. Walking out of the courtyard, he sent a message to Wang Li and the others, and gathered some capable people of the Dragon Sword Pavilion to discuss something. This time, Lin Xian's target was Wind-Seeking City. To be more precise, it was the auction in Wind-Seeking City. Previously, he had destroyed the Wanxiang auction and eliminated the Huang and Lung families, causing the entire Wind-Seeking City to be leaderless. Moreover, he had carved the words Immortal Martial Auction on the ruins of the Wanxiang auction. This meant that he wanted to personally build an auction that belonged to him. He had left this matter to Wang Li and the others, but it had always been done in secret. He hadn't really started building an auction, but now, he had decided to build a real auction. This was because Wind-Seeking City was a very important city. He had also heard about how much profit the Wanxiang auction had made. Therefore, if he wanted to expand his influence, it was imperative for him to establish an auction house. In the courtyard, Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong, and more than 20 elite members stood there, quietly waiting for Lin Xian. These people were all members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion, and they were all powerful elite members. Lin Xian looked at these people and nodded in satisfaction. Now that the Dragon Sword Pavilion had developed, it had more than 1,000 members. It was also a very powerful force in the Immortal Martial Academy, and the 20 people in front of him were all third heavenly layer venerables. They were powerful, and could be said to be the elites of the Dragon Sword Pavilion. Chapter 994. Lin Xian looked at the crowd and said in a deep voice, The reason I've gathered everyone here is to discuss the establishment of the auction. Wang Li, tell us about the progress of the past few days. Okay. Hearing Lin Xian's words, Wang Li nodded and stood out. We've been secretly observing the situation in Windy City. Ever since the Wanxiang auction and the Huang and Lung families were destroyed, Windy City has been in a leaderless state. Various powers are rising rapidly and fighting for control. However, because Brother Xian carved the words Immortal Martial Auction on the old site of the Wanxiang auction, no one dares to openly occupy that place. Of course, there's another reason, and that's young Master Ling Feng. The Wanxiang auction is a subordinate of young Master Ling Feng. This matter is no longer a secret, so no one dares to occupy the Wanxiang auction's territory. As for us, the biggest obstacle is young Master Ling Feng. After all, he's one of the top geniuses in the continent and has a huge influence. Although he hasn't made a move yet, we have to be careful. As for the other powers, there shouldn't be much of a problem. Hearing Wang Li's introduction, Lin Xian nodded. Indeed, young Master Ling Feng's existence was the biggest threat to him. This was also his biggest headache. Back then, he used the name Immortal Martial Auction to get the Immortal Martial Academy to back him up. However, this was only a method to scare him off. If he could really get the Immortal Martial Academy to back him up, he wouldn't be here discussing this matter. It seemed like if he wanted to establish the auction, he had to deal with this threat first. Lin Xian frowned. This meant that he had to find a strong backer to go against young Master Ling Feng. Otherwise, even if he established the auction, no one would dare to come. How about this? You guys carry on with your original work. I'll try to communicate with the academy. Lin Xian thought for a moment and said slowly. Communicate with the academy? Brother Xian, is this okay? Wang Li frowned. There didn't seem to be such a precedent. I'm not too confident either. But as long as there's a sliver of hope, I won't give up. Lin Xian shrugged and left the freshman area. Of course, if he borrowed Morong Qingcheng's strength, he might be able to fight against young noble Ling Feng. But this would go against his original intention. Moreover, if that was really the case, she was afraid that she would also be labeled as a freeloader. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, he would not use the power behind Morong Qingcheng. As for communicating with the Immortal Martial Academy, Lin Xian intended to give it a try. After all, the Immortal Martial Academy was an extremely profitable piece of meat. The Immortal Martial Academy wouldn't give up on such a lucrative opportunity. However, although it wasn't easy to find an elder in the Immortal Martial Academy, there was one place where one could definitely find one. And that was the True Spirit Hall. This kind of important place was definitely guarded by an elder. Soon Lin Xian arrived at the True Spirit Hall. He took a deep breath and walked into the hall. Speak, what do you want to exchange for? An elder squinted his eyes and spoke indifferently. Junior Lin Xian greets Senior. Lin Xian respectfully said. Lin Xian. Hearing this name, the elder opened his eyes. Then a smile appeared on his face. So it's you, little fellow. Speak, what do you want to exchange for? Seeing the elder's smile, Lin Xian awkwardly scratched his head and probed. Elder, this time disciple isn't here to exchange for something. I have something to discuss with the academy. I wonder if Elder can introduce me to the elder in charge of business. Business? Why are you asking about that? The elder had a puzzled look on his face as he frowned. It's like this. 2 days ago, this disciple obtained an auction house and wanted to run it again. However, I wish to cooperate with the academy. Hearing this, the elder's expression became extremely strange. However, he seemed to have thought of something and didn't reject Lin Xian's request. Instead, he said indifferently, All right, follow me. With that, he waved his sleeve and brought Lin Xian with him. As they disappeared from the True Spirit Hall, Lin Xian felt the light dim and the wind blow around him. He was being brought by Elder Zhang at an extremely fast speed. Feeling this speed, Lin Xian was shocked. He originally thought that his illusory demon steps was already very fast, but compared to the elder, it paled in comparison. The speed was so fast that even he couldn't withstand it. Of course, this didn't mean that Lin Xian was weak, but that the elder was too strong. He was definitely a peerless expert in the world. Not long after, the elder brought Lin Xian to another hall. Compared to the grandeur of the True Spirit Hall, this hall was golden and dazzling. There were exquisite and luxurious decorations everywhere, showing off the extraordinary wealth of this place. Elderly, why do you have the time to come here? A middle-aged man laughed. Then, Lin Xian felt his vision blur, and a figure appeared in front of him. It was a middle-aged man with a round face and wearing a golden silk robe. He was all smiles and seemed very amiable. Why? You don't welcome me here? The elder laughed and scolded. Why would I? Your presence will definitely bring light to my 1,000 treasure hall. All right, I won't chat with you anymore. I'm here to bring someone to see you. The elder said. Oh, the middle-aged man heard. He looked at Lin Xian with a curious gaze. This is? He revealed a puzzled expression. He's a disciple of the academy. His name is Lin Xian. Lin Xian, this is Hall Master 1 of the 1,000 Treasure Hall. The elder said. In the Immortal Martial Academy, the most powerful person was the dean, followed by the 2 vice deans. Under the vice deans were the 5 halls. The 1,000 Treasure Hall was one of them. It was in charge of all the commercial resources of the Immortal Martial Academy. The position of the hall master was very high, second only to the vice deans. Of course, there were also a few mysterious powerhouses who were guarding the courtyard. They were different from the experts guarding the 5 halls like elderly. What was more terrifying was that they were responsible for the safety of the entire Immortal Martial Academy. Normally, they wouldn't intervene unless it was a matter of life and death. The middle-aged man in front was the hall master of the 1,000 Treasure Hall. Disciple Lin Xian greets Hall Master 1. Lin Xian, you're the newly ranked 3rd on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard? Hall Master 1 said with a smile. Senior, you flatter me. Lin Xian scratched his head. He didn't expect these people to know him. All right, if there's anything, you two can discuss it. I'm going back. With a wave of his sleeve, the guardian elder disappeared. Thank you, Senior. Looking at the disappearing figure, Lin Xian bowed respectfully. Chapter 995. Palace Master, I've thought of something. I'm here to do business with the college. Lin Xian looked at the middle-aged man and said quickly, Oh, business? Tell me about it. Palace Master 1 was interested. Well, I have a great location, and I'd like to set up an auction house. However, I'm not powerful enough, and I'd like to work with the college to set up the auction house. Auction house? Tell me about the auction house in Windy City, Palace Master 1 said. Lin Xian was stunned when he heard that. Then he said quickly, Senior, it's indeed an auction house in Windy City. Young lad, you are pretty bold to destroy the Wanxiang auction. However, it's not a bad thing for us. We couldn't do it in the past due to certain reasons. Now that you've torn it down, we've solved a problem. We can consider it. After all, the profits from setting up an auction house in Windy City are unimaginable. Does that mean you've agreed to it? Lin Xian was delighted when he heard that. No hurry. I'll have to discuss it with the other elders in the college. How about this? You can go back first. If I have any news, I'll send someone to inform you. Palace Master 1 said slowly. Lin Xian left the 1,000 Treasure Palace happily. Judging from Palace Master 1's tone, there was a high chance that he would agree to it. After Lin Xian left, Palace Master 1 did not stay idle. In a flash, he disappeared from the 1,000 Treasure Palace. He was really interested in this matter. Moreover, Lin Xian's identity was not ordinary. He had to report it to the dean. Soon he came to a quiet valley. There were bamboo forests everywhere. Birds and beasts flew away. It was peaceful, and the spiritual qi here was very dense. It was much stronger than the outside world. In this beautiful valley, Hall Master 1 met Dean Xian. However, Dean Xian opened her eyes when she heard what Palace Master 1 said. Oh, you're saying that Lin Xian wants to set up an auction house? Yes. It should be the original Vientiane auction. However, I'm afraid that he's worried about Prince Ling Feng's influence. That's why he wants to get us involved. I didn't expect them to meet so soon. But this is also good. They are old enemies, so they will fight sooner or later. How about this? Go and tell him that we agreed to his request, and announce this news to the public. Yes, receiving the order, Palace Master 1 quickly left the Peach Blossom Valley. After Hall Master 1 left, Chief Xian narrowed her eyes and muttered to herself. Although the two of you are mortal enemies, with your current strength, it's still not enough for you to face him head-on. All we can do is try our best to prolong the time. When you've truly grown up, then you can fight it out. It had been 2 days since Lin Xian returned to the freshman courtyard. He was anxiously waiting for a reply. On the third day, a middle-aged deacon landed in his courtyard. Sensing that someone was approaching, Lin Xian's figure flickered and dashed out. Then, he saw a middle-aged man standing in the courtyard. Lin Xian, right? I'm a deacon of the 10,000 Treasure Palace. The palace master sent me here. That middle-aged man said. Senior Deacon, is there news? Hearing this, Lin Xian revealed a trace of anticipation. Indeed, our palace master replied that he has agreed to this matter. The Immortal Martial Academy will cooperate with you. And the profits will be asterisk 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 asterisk. Asterisk 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 asterisk? Okay, I agree. 40% is enough for me. Lin Xian nodded. Indeed, as long as he could get on the good side of the Immortal Martial Academy, no one would dare to cause trouble in the future. Even Prince Lingfeng would have to think twice. After all, the Immortal Martial Academy was also a terrifying peak power. Although Prince Lingfeng was strong, he didn't have the qualifications to go against the Immortal Martial Academy, unless the other party brought out the strength of the War God Palace. But once the other party did that, it would become a battle between two superpowers. This was something that no one wanted to see. Therefore, Lin Xian was quite agreeable to the idea of splitting the profits. However, the middle-aged deacon shook his head. You're mistaken. There's something I have to clarify. Regarding the split, it's 60% for you and 40% for us. Pooh! What? Lin Xian almost choked on his own saliva. 60% for me? Are you sure you're not mistaken? He was stunned. One must know that 40% was already not bad. But he didn't expect the academy to give him 60%. Could it be that he was dreaming? Lin Xian pinched his thigh, feeling pain. You didn't hear wrongly. It's indeed 60% for you and 40% for us. The deacon repeated. Are there any special conditions? Lin Xian furrowed his brows. There must be something fishy about this. Although it was only 20%, the profit was so huge that it could scare people to death. For this cooperation, we will make our stance clear to the outside world. However, we won't send too many people to Windask City. Maybe only 1 or 2 elders will help you. Everything will depend on you. But don't worry. If someone really dares to find trouble, the Immortal Martial Academy will definitely not let them off. So it's like this. Hearing this, Lin Xian relaxed. In other words, the Immortal Martial Academy didn't intend to interfere with the management of the auction. They only wanted to spread the word and let Lin Xian take care of the rest. This was also good. It was more in line with Lin Xian's thoughts. If not, he wouldn't feel comfortable being tied down. Okay, then I'll have to thank the elders of the 10,000 Treasure Hall and the Academy. I will establish the Immortal Martial Auction as soon as possible. After which, Lin Xian sent off the middle-aged deacon and gathered Wang Li and the rest once again. When everyone heard that the Academy had agreed to give them 60% of the profits, they were all stunned. There were even some who bit their own tongues. Brother Xian, are you sure you're not joking with us? Boss, are you awake? To be honest, when I heard this news, I had the same reaction as all of you. But it's true. Lin Xian laughed. Too awesome. Hearing this, Wang Li and the rest all cheered. With the support of the Academy, they didn't have to be afraid of young Master Lin Xian anymore. Not only that, there wouldn't be many people who would dare to have any ideas about them. Okay, the next step is to prepare for the auction. During this period of time, everyone will have to work hard. Don't worry, Brother Xian. We're very happy. They were all too excited. In the past, they only went to the auction to buy things. Who would have thought that one day, they would be able to establish their own auction? Everyone was incomparably excited because the difference between going to the auction and establishing their own auction was huge. One must know that it wasn't easy to run an auction. If Lin Xian didn't have the support of the Immortal Martial Academy, he wouldn't have been able to proceed so smoothly. Chapter 996. During this period of time, Wind-Seeking City was not peaceful at all. Undercurrents were surging as the chaos of war continued. Of course, these battles had not developed to the point where they could threaten the safety of the city. Therefore, the ordinary people were living peacefully. However, the various factions were extremely uneasy. This was because the situation had changed too quickly during this period of time. Almost every day, there would be factions being destroyed, and every day, new factions would rise up. All of this originated from a single person, and that was Lin Xian. Back then, the other party had annihilated the three major forces of Wind-Seeking City. It was too sudden. Therefore, Wind-Seeking City could be said to be a group of dragons without a leader. The properties of the three factions had also become treasures without an owner. These were all rich prophets, and none of the factions were not jealous. Therefore, when Lin Xian and the others left, these people immediately began to fight for the treasures. They did not dare to fight for the items of the Wanxiang auction, but they had no qualms about the properties of the Huang and Lung clan. Not only that, other factions from other regions also began to interfere, wanting to swallow this fat piece of meat. After a period of fighting, three factions emerged from the encirclement and suppressed the other factions. One of them was the local faction of Wind-Seeking City, the Tai clan. The Tai clan mainly dealt in mining and forging artifacts. They were already very strong, second only to the Wanxiang auction and the Lung clan. They were the strongest clan under the three factions. Therefore, when the three factions of the Wanxiang auction were destroyed, they quickly rose up and occupied an advantageous position. The other two factions were factions outside of Wind-Seeking City, but they were very strong and forcefully intervened. One of the factions was called the Purple Demon House, which was quite famous around Wind-Seeking City. The house master, the Purple Demon Old Ghost, was an experienced expert of the fourth heaven of the Martial Highness realm. The other faction was a faction that Lin Xian was familiar with, the Azure Red Society. The three new factions fought for the properties of the Huang and Lung clans, and the battle was extremely intense. However, something that suddenly appeared and broke their conflict, and that was Lin Xian's return to Wind-Seeking City. Seeing the group of immortal martial disciples descending from the sky, the entire Wind-Seeking City was extremely nervous. The last time something like this happened, Lin Xian had already eliminated the three factions. What was he going to do this time? For a time, the various factions were extremely cautious. Even the three new factions were much quieter. They were all paying attention to what Lin Xian was doing here. However, to their relief, the other party did not look for trouble with them. Instead, they went straight to the place where the Wanxiang auction was held. It can't be. Lin Xian really wants to build an auction? Heavens, this is too inconceivable. The Wanxiang auction is young Master Ling Feng's subordinate organization. Could it be that they really want to go against young Master Ling Feng? This is too insolent. That might not be the case. Didn't you see the words Immortal Martial Auction House? Who knows, there might be a reference to the Immortal Martial Academy. Everyone was discussing animatedly. They were all paying close attention. Lin Xian did not pay attention to the discussions of the others. He led the Dragon Sword Pavilion members to the ruins of the Wanxiang auction. Go, summon all the forces in the city. Lin Xian condensed a palace with his spirit energy and stayed there for the time being. Then, he ordered Wang Li and the others to gather all the big and small forces in Wind-Seeking City. Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong, and the others received the order and moved quickly. Soon, other than the ordinary citizens, all the big and small forces in Wind-Seeking City received the order. They were extremely puzzled and did not know what Lin Xian wanted to do. However, no one dared to not go. After all, Lin Xian's influence was still there. They did not want to end up like the Wanxiang auction. In an instant, all the forces in Wind-Seeking City sent their representatives. Countless martial artists moved, causing the ground of the entire Wind-Seeking City to tremble slightly. Everyone looked at this scene in horror, their hearts filled with shock. Soon, the representatives of the forces arrived at the ruins of the Wanxiang auction. They looked at the palace condensed with spirit energy, and were even more shocked. They had only seen such a method in legends. Moreover, the aura coming from the palace seemed to be even more powerful and terrifying than before. Without a doubt, this aura belonged to Lin Xian. What did this mean? This meant that he had improved in such a short period of time. This kind of cultivation speed was absolutely monstrous. In the past, they were already no match for Lin Xian. Now there was no need to even think about it. Therefore, for a moment, everyone waited obediently. The whole place was eerily quiet. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Suddenly, the sound of steady footsteps could be heard coming from the spiritual energy palace. Then a young man appeared in front of everyone. It's really him. Looking at the figure, everyone exclaimed in their hearts. Is everyone here? Lin Xian looked around and asked in a deep voice. Other than the purple demon house, all the other forces are here. Wang Li said. Hearing this, Lin Xian raised his eyebrows and asked indifferently, what's the background of the purple demon house? The purple demon house was a relatively large force near Wind-Seeking City. It was established by the purple demon Old Ghost. Due to their decisive and ruthless style, very few people dared to provoke them. What's the purple demon Old Ghost's strength? He had entered the fourth sky of the honorable realm a long time ago. No one knew how strong he was now, but he was sure that he had not broken through the fifth sky of the honorable realm. This time, it was Yu Fei who answered. Because they needed a lot of information to establish an auction, Lin Xian summoned him back from Lion Tiger City. Hearing this information, Lin Xian did not say anything, but his eyes were gloomy. A fourth sky of the honorable realm. No wonder he was so arrogant. He was considered an expert in the outside world. However, Lin Xian was not afraid of him. He had also broken through to the fourth sky of the honorable realm. Moreover, he had DeLong Jianli's powerful battle strength. There were very few people in the same realm who could be his opponent. Moreover, the establishment of the immortal martial auction was his first step into the blood realm. He had to intimidate all the forces in Wind-Seeking City. There could not be any accidents, because he had to show his strength and confidence to make everyone believe that he had the ability to go against young Master Ling Feng. This way, when he opened the auction in the future, there would be people who would dare to sell their items to him. If they couldn't even intimidate a Wind-Seeking City, then their immortal martial auction would become a joke. Even if they opened, no one would come to them. And now, the Purple Demon House was undoubtedly provoking them. If it was any other day, it would be fine. However, at this critical moment, Lin Xian would not let them go. Spread the word. Tell them to come here within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Otherwise, they will be kicked out of Wind-Seeking City forever. Don't even think about taking another step. Chapter 997. Hearing this, the representatives of the various forces trembled. Their pupils constricted, and their hearts were in turmoil. Lin Xian was too overbearing. The Purple Demon House was considered a major force, and they had snatched a lot of resources. They were one of the top forces in Wind-Seeking City. However, Lin Xian's words were so obvious. They could either come and pay their respects, or get out of Wind-Seeking City forever. Getting out of Wind-Seeking City meant that the Purple Demon House had to give up on the resources they had snatched and spit out the fat meat in their hands. This warning was too overbearing. Everyone was shocked. If it was not handled well, the two forces would clash. The Purple Demon House was extremely powerful. It was not something a family like Huang Lung could compare with. The house master, Purple Demon Old Ghost, was a senior expert who had entered the fourth heaven of the honorable realm many years ago. He was extremely powerful. The people of the Dragon Sword Pavilion did not have such concerns. They only listened to Lin Xian. After receiving Lin Xian's order, one of the disciples quickly flew into the sky. What? What did you say? Say it again. A furious voice came from the Lung family's residence. The Lung family's residence had become the base of the Purple Demon House. As the Lung family had retreated from Wind-Seeking City without fighting, their residence was the most intact and was almost undamaged. Hence, the Purple Demon House had seized the Lung family's residence the moment they entered Wind-Seeking City. It had become their base camp in wind-seeking city. In a large hall, a bearded middle-aged man heard his subordinates report and was instantly enraged. He was like a mad lion. Despicable, too despicable. A young brat dared to ask them to pay their respects, and even threatened to get out of wind-seeking city in less than half an hour? Contempt, this was blatant contempt. The Purple Demon House was not a useless family like the Huang and Lung families. Although the other party was powerful, the Purple Demon House was not in his eyes. The reason why they didn't take over the Wanxiang auction this time was because they were afraid of young Master Ling Feng, and not because they were afraid of Lin Xian. In their opinion, they were already doing Lin Xian a great favor by not finding trouble with him. But now he dared to find trouble with them. He was courting death. "Boss, what should we do? That brat is too hateful. He actually dares to provoke us." At this moment, a middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and monkey-like cheeks stood up. His face was ferocious, and his eyes were filled with ferocity. "That's right, I'll go kill him and bring his head back," another warrior said in a cold voice. Their Purple Demon House had never received such provocation before, especially when the other party was just a young brat. This was something they could not tolerate. The middle-aged man with a full beard waved his hand, and the corner of his mouth raised into an evil smile. Didn't he want to gather everyone? "All right, let's go and see what this brat is up to." "But wouldn't that be letting that kid off too easily? Let him off easy. How is this possible? Offending our Purple Demon House. He definitely won't live long." The middle-aged man sneered. "The reason he's gathered everyone this time is probably to set up an auction. When the time comes, we'll crush his plans. Let's see how arrogant he can be then." "Ha! A little brat actually dares to set up an auction? He really doesn't know how to write the word death." The group of people sneered. Then, they followed the middle-aged man and quickly soared into the sky, flying in the direction of the Vientiane auction. In the center of wind-seeking city, the crowd gathered and waited quietly. In front of them, there was a sandalwood incense stick as thick as a finger. It was slowly burning. However, more than half of the incense stick had been burned, and the ground was covered in ashes. However, the people from the Purple Demon House had yet to arrive. Although the representatives of the various forces didn't say anything, they kept guessing in their hearts. In their opinion, the Purple Demon House would definitely ignore such an unreasonable request. And looking at Lin Xian's expression, it seemed like he wasn't just saying it for fun. If the two sides were to fight, it was very likely that they would be able to reap the benefits without doing anything. Thinking of this, these people couldn't help but become excited. Lin Xian sat on a dragon-shaped chair condensed from spiritual energy. His eyes were slightly narrowed as he comprehended the alchemy knowledge left behind by King Pillfeather, Wang Li Dongfang Xiong, and the others stood to the side. However, when they looked at the incense stick that was about to burn out, their faces became increasingly gloomy. This time, they had come with great ambitions. They were determined to establish the immortal martial auction. However, before it even started, there were already people who didn't give them face. If Lin Xian hadn't said to wait for the time it took for an incense stick to burn, they would have already brought people to kill. What Purple Demon House? What Purple Demon Old Ghost? Although they seemed powerful to outsiders, they didn't care about them at all. Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the sky. Then countless rays of light lit up, accompanied by waves of terrifying and ferocious spiritual energy fluctuations. Sensing this spiritual energy, everyone looked up at the sky. Then, the pupils of the representatives shrank, as if they had seen a ghost. They couldn't believe it. Purple Demon House? How is this possible? Yeah, why are they here? Countless cries of surprise rang out. This was different from what they had expected. Could Lin Xian really be this powerful? Even the Purple Demon House couldn't resist. Before they could react, the figures in the sky had already landed. A powerful spiritual energy aura spread out, spreading in all directions and stirring up clouds of dust. Ha 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 ha. It's so lively here. As soon as these people landed, an extremely arrogant laughter spread out in all directions. This was a group of martial artists dressed in purple. The leader was a middle-aged man with a big beard. Beside him was a middle-aged man with a pointy mouth and monkey cheeks. On the right was a burly man who looked like an iron tower. Behind him were dozens of martial artists with powerful auras. When these people grouped together, they formed a very powerful force. Not only that, they formed a sharp contrast with the representatives of the other forces. Those forces only sent 1 or 2 representatives, unlike the Purple Demon House who brought countless experts. Obviously, this was a demonstration of strength. When the middle-aged man with a big beard landed, he didn't pay attention to Lin Xian and the others. Instead, he greeted the other forces beside him, as if they were the masters. He completely ignored Lin Xian and the others. Seeing this scene, everyone's heart skipped a beat, and they were overjoyed. Although the people from the Purple Demon House were here, they didn't seem to be satisfied. It was as if they wanted to provoke them. As expected, it's not so easy to invite the Purple Demon House. Many people sneered in their hearts, ready to watch a good show. Originally, they were already dissatisfied with Lin Xian. If the Purple Demon House could fight with Lin Xian at this moment, it would be for the best. It would be best if both sides were injured. Then they could sit back and reap the benefits. Chapter 998. Taking a deep breath, Wang Li took a step forward and said coldly, "Are the people below from the Purple Dress House?" "That's us. Kid, what are you planning to do by gathering so many people?" The middle-aged man with the protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks shouted coldly, "I've gathered all of you here to discuss the matter of rebuilding the auction house." "Auction house? Great. Our Purple Demon House also wants to build an auction house. Why don't we work together?" The middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks laughed arrogantly. Hearing this, everyone's eyelids twitched and they raised their heads. The smell of gunpowder was too strong. It seemed like the Purple Demon House was really angry this time. The middle-aged man with the protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks continued, "You also know that this auction house is of the utmost importance, and is the symbol of Wind-Seeking City. You bunch of brats don't have much strength nor experience. It's impossible for you to build an auction house. Why don't you let us seniors teach you how to build and manage an auction house?" Hearing this, Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong, and the others' faces darkened. The other party's arrogant attitude completely disregarded them. "What? Is there a need to think about it? It's your great fortune to be able to receive our guidance. How about this? We'll manage the auction house together, and we'll give you 10% of the profits. What do you think?" The middle-aged man with the protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks was getting more and more arrogant. Behind him, the Purple Demon House's cultivators were laughing loudly. Buzz! Suddenly, Lin Xian opened his eyes. His gaze was like a sword, sweeping in all directions. All the cultivators who were swept by this gaze shuddered, and a chill rose from the bottom of their hearts. Especially the Purple Demon House's cultivators. They stopped laughing and revealed a terrified expression. It was as if their necks were being strangled, and their faces were flushed red. The middle-aged man with the protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks was even more frightened. Just now, when that gaze swept over him, all the hair on his body stood on end. It was as if an invisible sword had stabbed into his chest. He knew that it was just an illusion, but he still couldn't help but tremble slightly. The bearded middle-aged man's face was also gloomy. He didn't expect the other party to have such a method. It was indeed out of his expectations. Seeing Lin Xian open his eyes, Wang Li let out a sigh of relief and retreated to Lin Xian's side. "You want to cooperate with us to set up an auction?" Lin Xian asked calmly, his voice emotionless. "Yes." At this moment, the middle-aged man with the protruding mouth and monkey-like cheeks was trying his best to calm the fear in his heart as he braced himself and spoke. "Kid, it's your great fortune to be able to cooperate with our Purple Demon House." "Luck." Lin Xian smiled disdainfully. "You can't even block my gaze. Do you think someone like you is worthy of cooperating with me?" His tone was light, but it was filled with disdain. Hearing this, the members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion beside Lin Xian shook their heads in disdain, their eyes filled with contempt. Countless members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion looked at the monkey-faced man with disdain. "Brat, you're courting death. Being looked down upon, the monkey-faced middle-aged man was furious. He took a step forward and punched out. How dare you? How dare you attack? Seeing that the other party dared to attack, Wang Li roared and was about to stop him. However, before he could do anything, cold air suddenly condensed in the air and froze the terrifying fist shadow. Pung! An azure ice cube fell from the sky and landed on the ground, emitting a monstrous chill. Within it was a resplendent fist shadow. Seeing this scene, the surrounding cultivators all sucked in a breath of cold air. As for the monkey-faced middle-aged man, his eyelids twitched wildly. He didn't even see how the other party attacked. Since you're here, you'll have to abide by my rules, Lin Xian said coldly. With your strength, it's best if you don't embarrass yourself. Bullsh*T, I'll crush you with one punch. Opposite him, the monkey-faced middle-aged man was furious. His face was ferocious as he roared and mobilized all the strength in his body, quickly attacking Lin Xian. This punch was aimed at Lin Xian, and even included all the disciples of the Dragon Sword Pavilion. Not only that, the other party even wanted to completely destroy this area. If a bottomless pit was created in this area, it would be impossible to build an auction. From this, it could be seen how sinister the monkey-faced man opposite him was. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly and didn't even make a move. In the next moment, the middle-aged man's arm suddenly exploded. Countless icicles surged out of his arm and pierced in all directions. The terrifying power in the other party's fist that had yet to surge out was suddenly interrupted. Ah! Immediately, the monkey-faced middle-aged man let out a miserable cry and kept retreating while holding his arm. Blood sprayed in the air, but before it could fall, it was frozen into ice beads by the cold air and fell to the ground with a sonorous sound. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Many people cried out in alarm, their eyes filled with shock. Without a doubt, the one who attacked was definitely someone from the Dragon Sword Pavilion, and it was definitely Lin Xian. However, they didn't see the other party attack at all. They only saw the monkey-faced middle-aged man's arm suddenly emitting countless icicles. It was extremely terrifying. They didn't know anything else. What kind of technique is this? Isn't it a little too terrifying? Seeing this, the Purple Demon House's cultivators' eyelids twitched wildly. Many of them went forward to support the monkey-faced middle-aged man and release streams of spirit energy to resist the terrifying power of the cold air. Several people joined forces to barely block the cold air. However, what shocked them was that the cold air was extremely strange. It had already frozen the man's entire arm. Even if they removed the cold air now, the arm would be crippled. Unless they had a heaven-defying top-grade spirit medicine, it would be impossible to restore the arm. After hearing this news, the monkey-faced middle-aged man went crazy. His entire person was incomparably ferocious, like an injured beast. He stared fiercely in front of him and roared crazily. Umph! However, Lin Xian only snorted coldly. The terrifying cold air once again descended on the other party's body. Suddenly, the monkey-faced man felt as if he was struck by lightning. His eyes were filled with horror as he kept retreating. He was crazy in his heart, but he didn't dare to show it anymore. That aura made him feel as if he was on the verge of death. At this moment, the bearded middle-aged man from the Purple Demon House said coldly, "Aren't you going a little too far by doing this? Injuring people from the Purple Demon House without any reason. If you don't give us an explanation today, don't blame us for being impolite." As the bearded middle-aged man's voice fell, the other cultivators from the Purple Demon House also looked over with cold eyes. A terrifying aura spread out from their bodies. "You want to fight? Then come." Wang Li and the others were not afraid. In terms of strength and numbers, they were completely superior to the other party. However, Lin Xian waved his hand slightly. He looked forward and said coldly, Chapter 999. I'm afraid that he used all his strength in that punch. That power should be enough to turn someone into a bloody mist. Furthermore, he wanted to destroy the entire ground. I don't think I need to tell you what kind of evil intentions he has. Are you saying that only you can attack, and am not allowed to retaliate? I'm afraid there's no such logic in this world. I've already given him enough face by only crippling one of his arms. However, if he dares to act recklessly again, I don't mind turning him into an ice sculpture. Secondly, I've gathered all of you here to inform you that I'm going to build the immortal martial auction, not to discuss with you. Furthermore, I have no intention of joining forces with anyone. Therefore, no matter what doubts you have, you'd better keep them in your stomach. I don't believe you're not afraid of young Master Ling Feng. I only want the immortal martial auction. You don't have to worry about whether I'm afraid or not with you, so you don't have to worry. I have something to show you. There's one thing you must remember. Lin Xian waved his sleeve, and a golden scroll appeared in his hand. Normally, in the next moment, that you won't cross my bottom line, and through the golden scroll you'll end up like the Wanxiang auction. The golden scroll floated in the sky when the crowd heard that Lin Xian wouldn't lay his hands on other resources. On the scroll, there were two large golden words, immortal martial. However, in the next moment, were flamboyant, their hearts pounded violently, almost bursting apart. There was also a shocking pressure in the god. Therefore, when the scroll were too domineering, the pressure quickly spread out in all directions. It also meant that Lin Xian would become the true overlord of the representatives from the various powers. If these people obeyed his will, some of the weaker ones even sat on the ground with cold sweat all over their bodies. If they rebelled, this pressure would end up in a miserable state. It was not something they could contend against. Everyone was silent. Most of the cultivators from the Purple Demon House such conditions were also lying on the ground. The bearded man from the purple dress house was resisting with all his might. He was extremely furious at Lin Xian's words. This scroll was personally written the Purple Dress House an elder of the immortal martial academy. City. I'm sure you've all experienced Lin Xian actually proposed the same thing. Since this auction is called the immortal martial auction, immortal martial auction, it means that I'm not the only one who owns this auction. I wonder if anyone would dare to come to your auction once the immortal martial academy. The bearded middle-aged man who it is sarcastically, since they dared to touch the immortal martial auction. Wang Li shouted coldly at the bearded man. Face the wrath of the immortal martial academy. The bearded middle-aged man's voice was cold as it echoed in the Wuxia auction is young Master Ling Feng's everyone's heart trembled. They did not expect that young Master let you go after destroying the Wuxia immortal martial academy. Even if you set up an auction now, the situation would be completely torn down soon. Thinking of this, I advise you not to waste your energy, lest you embarrass yourself when the time to rebuild the auction. The bearded middle-aged man said. It meant that he must have a powerful trump card, spreading in all directions. But even if they were beaten to death, hearing this, they would never have thought that young Master Ling Feng's trump card would be the immortal martial academy. That the Vientiane auction was young Master Ling Feng's one of the top powers in the continent. Not only did Lin Xian tear down the Wuxia auction would not dare to make a move against them. He even built a new auction house on top of it. From the Tai clan, this was a blatant provocation. Young Master Ling Feng's conditions. Even if young Master Ling Feng didn't do it himself, I agree as well. There would be countless experts coming to find trouble with him. Exclamations of surprise rang out as the representatives from the various powers expressed their stance. After hearing the bearded stance meant that they acknowledged Lin Xian's position as the Dragon Sword overlord of Wuxia City. Instead, actually, it didn't matter whether they acknowledged it or not. The bearded middle-aged man's card Lin Xian displayed today was not something they could contend against. However, he quickly shook his head in denial. The corners of Lin Xian's lips curled in front of him had the strength to go against young Master Ling Feng. His gaze swept across the crowd. One had to know that young Master Ling Feng from the Purple Demon House of the Tianwu continent. Feeling that gaze, he had countless experts under him. He was definitely not someone these people could go against. If they had guessed the current situation, they would not have dared to say such words, even if they were beaten to death. But since they had already done it, they could only bear it with their heads. The bearded middle-aged man's face was gloomy as he gnashed his teeth. This time, he came to Wind-Seeking City under the orders of the House Lord. He had to take over Wind-Seeking City no matter what. But he did not expect such a situation to occur. However, under such circumstances, he had no choice but to lower his head. Chapter 1000. I'll agree to his request first, and when I return, I'll ask the House Leader for help. I don't believe the Immortal Martial Academy can protect him forever. The bearded middle-aged man sneered in his heart. However, before he could speak, Lin Xian spoke first. As for you people, Scram, don't appear in front of me. You. The bearded middle-aged man was trembling with anger, his face ashen. He didn't expect Lin Xian to directly berate them, telling them to scram. This was a slap to their faces. Brat, you better think carefully. We are from the Purple Demon House. The bearded middle-aged man gritted his teeth, his eyes blazing with rage. However, Lin Xian coldly snorted. His gaze suddenly focused. and with a wave of his hand, a gigantic palm of ice rapidly rushed forward. This palm was too terrifying, covering the sky and earth, emitting a bone-piercing chill, directly enveloping everyone from the purple demon house, and slamming them into the sky. The bearded middle-aged man, and the other cultivators from the purple demon house, were all sent flying, disappearing from their original location. A bunch of annoying flies, finally some peace. Lin Xian clapped his hands, his face filled with disgust. Seeing this scene, the hearts of the crowd pounded madly. Luckily, they didn't act arrogantly in front of Lin Xian, or else their ending wouldn't be any better. Oh right, I want to establish the auction house as soon as possible. Who among you is from a construction clan? Don't worry, I'm not the great demon king. I'll give you the spirit stones you deserve. This old man is the Mu clan leader. Our Mu clan has been in charge of construction for hundreds of years. We can definitely help young Master Lin build the auction house. I wonder if young Master Lin wants us to design it. Or do you already have the blueprints and want to build it directly? I already have the blueprints, let's build it directly, Lin Xian said. Since you're the first to step forward, I'll give you a 20% discount on the fees you pay at the Immortal Martial Auction House. All members of your Mu clan can enjoy this treatment. 20%. Hearing this, the crowd was shocked, and they all sucked in a breath of cold air. With the Immortal Martial Academy as his trump card, establishing the auction house was a sure thing. And one could imagine that the Immortal Martial Auction House wouldn't be any weaker than the Wanxiang Auction House. And now, a small family like the Mu family had received a 20% discount just by stepping forward to undertake the construction. This was a great opportunity that had fallen from the sky. I'm from the Tai clan. I'm willing to bear all the metal problems during the construction process. The old man from the Tai clan spoke again. Alright, 15% off, Lin Xian said calmly. Hearing that, the old man from the Tai family smiled, looking very excited. My family can also help. Immediately, the representatives of the various forces spoke one after another, looking very anxious. They didn't want to miss out on such a good opportunity. Moreover, they might even be able to get closer to Lin Xian. This was killing two birds with one stone. Reward them all. Everything is 10% off. Lin Xian was in a good mood, and said with a wave of his hand, running an auction in the Windy City would bring in a lot of profit. Moreover, there were only a few families in the city. Even if all the families in the city were to give him a 10% discount, he would still not lose money. Moreover, doing this could also draw the relationship between the two parties closer. While making them respect each other, it could also create a sense of attachment. Carrot after carrot, Lin Xian still understood this logic. Following that, these people left to prepare for the establishment of the auction. After these representatives left, they all heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly returned to their respective families. This time when they returned, they had to warn the disciples of their families not to offend Lin Xian or the Immortal Martial Auction House. Lin Xian and the others smiled as well. Right now all they needed to do was to supervise these people. At the same time, the news of Lin Xian and the Immortal Martial Academy collaborating to hold an auction quickly spread out. This news first spread throughout the entire wind-seeking city, and then quickly spread to other cities. In a short period of time, the cultivators in the surrounding cities all knew of this news. At the same time, they were extremely shocked. They didn't expect the Immortal Martial Academy to interfere in this matter. In the following days, the Windy City became lively again. Many forces started to take action to establish the Immortal Martial Auction House. As for the specific matters, Lin Xian left it to Wang Li and the rest to supervise, while he discussed with the dark red divine dragon about the formation. Establishing the auction house was a small matter. Defending the auction house was the most important. After all, he had just established the auction house. If something unexpected happened during the auction, they wouldn't be able to open it in the future. Hence, to an auction house, safety was always the most important. As for the military strength, the Immortal Martial Academy would at most send 1 or 2 elders to oversee the situation. Hence, in this aspect, he still had to rely on himself to recruit experts. However, he had an advantage. and that was that he had the dark red divine dragon as a formation expert. If he could set up a few powerful formations within the auction house, even if they didn't have many experts, just the formations alone would be enough to deal with outsiders. Hence, these few days, Lin Xian had been discussing the formation with the dark red divine dragon. Kid, I recommend this 5 elements formation. It can be used for both offense and defense. It's extremely powerful. The dark red divine dragon shook its head and said, after the good fortune in the demon blood pool, its cultivation base had already recovered to the 3rd heavenly layer of the martial saint realm. The number of formations it could use had also increased by quite a bit. This 5 elements formation was one of them. Lin Xian looked at the 5 elements formation and nodded his head in satisfaction. Not bad at all. It can be used for both offense and defense. Moreover, its offense and defense are extremely powerful. Most importantly, the materials required to set up this formation weren't particularly precious. Alright, this shall be it. Lin Xian clapped his hands and decided, using this 5 elements formation as the foundation, set up a few more formations. Lin Xian stroked his chin and said, he didn't feel at ease with just a 5 elements formation. This formation could at most block a 5th heavenly layer of the martial saint realm. If someone stronger came, it wouldn't be able to block it. Hence, he had to consider thoroughly. After all, this auction wouldn't be held for just 1 or 2 years. Moreover, if something really happened, he wouldn't be the only one to suffer a loss. Even the Immortal Martial Academy would be embarrassed. Are there any exceptionally powerful formations? Find 2 to set them up. Don't worry about the materials. I can consider asking the academy for some. Lin Xian said. Since he had already hugged the golden thigh of the Immortal Martial Academy, it wouldn't be a problem to ask for some materials. Alright, let me take a look. The dark red divine dragon started to think. At this moment, Lin Xian suddenly frowned. His heart was beating wildly as a strong sense of danger surged in his heart. He didn't hesitate and quickly moved out. In the next moment, a cold light appeared at the place where he was originally standing and cut the void apart. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian's pupils constricted. If he didn't move away, he would have been severely injured by now. Who exactly was it that was so vicious? After that cold light, a black figure flashed. It was a black-robed man. His entire body was covered in a black robe, and he held a long sword in his hand. His entire body was extremely cold. After missing his attack, the mysterious black-robed man didn't stop. Instead, he quickly disappeared into the void, trying to leave. Chapter 1001. Trying to leave? Lin Xian snorted coldly when he saw the figure gradually disappear. The other party had almost killed him. How could he let the other party leave? In the next moment, cold air gushed out of his body and quickly spread in all directions. Wherever it passed, it formed a world of ice and frost. The house exploded. Endless ice turned into blue swords and pierced into the void. Boom! This phenomenon immediately attracted everyone's attention. Lin Xian and the dark red dragon were not at the auction, but they were not far away. Therefore, when his house exploded, everyone around him was stunned. Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong, and the others stopped and looked over. There must have been a battle to cause such a commotion. However, they did not see the enemy. They only saw countless ice swords flying in the void. Brother Xian! Wang Li and the others shouted and wanted to attack. No need. Stay at the side and protect yourselves. The enemy's movement technique is very strange. Be careful of his movement technique. Lin Xian reminded Wang Li and the others loudly. The enemy's strange movement technique shocked even him, let alone Wang Li and the others. If those people came, they would not be able to stop it. Moreover, Lin Xian did not want to lose his subordinates for no reason. However, he did not plan to let the other party go. He formed a seal with his hands, and a light blue aura rushed in all directions. It formed a huge blue cage and sealed the entire space. At the same time, the cold aura could slow down the enemy's speed. Sure enough, it didn't take long for a black shadow to appear in the air, but it quickly disappeared. Seeing this, Lin Xian sneered. Although the other party's speed was still very fast, it seemed that he had sealed it. However, at this moment, his heart skipped a beat, and a sense of danger surged in his heart. Damn it! Lin Xian's face darkened. He quickly used the blood clone to stay on the spot, while his real body quickly retreated to the side. In the next moment, another sharp sword light flashed in the void, and quickly pierced the clone's heart. This sword was extremely sharp. Whether it was the power, speed, or angle, they were all perfect. If Lin Xian did not have a clone to replace him, he would not have been able to escape. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian was enraged. Without another word, he quickly took out the red lotus armor glove and put it on. Then, he threw a punch at the black shadow that was about to disappear. The entire void exploded. Red fist shadows filled the surroundings, and the power swept through the 9 heavens. The mysterious black shadow had already disappeared into the void, but it was forced out by this punch. Facing this terrifying punch, the black-clothed man let out a furious roar and emitted an incomparable aura. 4th level Venerable. Feeling this spiritual energy, the surrounding martial artists all exclaimed. They had never imagined that the person who had tried to assassinate Lin Xian would actually be a 4th-ranked Venerable. Seeing that he couldn't escape, the 4th-ranked Venerable chose to face the terrifying Red Lotus Fist shadow head-on. A dazzling sword radiance slashed forward in an instant. However, all of this was futile. Under the powerful force of the Red Lotus Fist, the resplendent sword chi was instantly shattered. In the next moment, the terrifying fist shadows enveloped him. Bang! An earth-shattering sound was heard. The 4th-ranked Venerable's body suddenly exploded and turned into a bloody mist. A 4th-ranked Venerable was killed with one punch. What? Everyone was dumbfounded. Even Wang Li and the others were dumbfounded. Shocking, too shocking. They had never imagined that Lin Xian's current strength would be so terrifying that he could kill a 4th-ranked Venerable with one punch. What kind of fist technique is that? It's so terrifying. Everyone was stunned. The other mysterious assassin was even more terrified. He had never imagined that Lin Xian would be so powerful that he could kill his companion in an instant. Damn it, the target's information is wrong. He cursed under his breath. Then his body emitted light, and he quickly attacked in front of him. Now, he didn't dare to stay any longer, because his strength was on par with the dead man. If his companion couldn't block a punch, he wouldn't be able to either. Now the most important thing was to leave this place. After killing a mysterious Venerable with one punch, Lin Xian had consumed more than half of the spiritual energy in his body. He was too angry just now. He had almost been killed twice in a row. This made him extremely angry, so he didn't hesitate and took out the Red Lotus armor gloves. He knew the power of that punch, but when he saw that the 4th-ranked Venerable had been turned into a bloody mist, he was extremely shocked. However, the only drawback was that it consumed too much energy. With his current strength, he could only use it 2 or 3 times. Therefore, Lin Xian didn't use the Red Lotus gloves against the remaining mysterious assassin. After all, the situation wasn't clear. He didn't know how many enemies there were, so he had to conserve his strength. However, he didn't regret that punch, because he wanted to use his strength to intimidate everyone and tell them that he wasn't someone to be trifled with. He put away the Red Lotus gloves, drew the Lone Star sword and stabbed out. The blood-red sword chi surged like an angry dragon. It roared ferociously and charged forward. Although this sword wasn't as powerful as the Red Lotus gloves, it was still extremely sharp. When the man in black saw this, his scalp went numb. Lin Xian's battle strength, coupled with the power of a half-Earth rank artifact, was not something that he could contend against. This person was also decisive. When he saw that he couldn't escape, he simply cut off his left arm and used a secret technique to form a substitute in front of him. The long sword fell, bringing with it a bloody mist. A scream was heard. Then, an afterimage quickly fled into the sky. Kid, don't chase. That's the death substitution technique. Seeing that Lin Xian was about to attack, the dark red dragon reminded him. The death substitution technique was very special. It could use a part of the body to substitute for death. Therefore, with that person's condition, he could still use it several times. There was no way to kill him. Humph. Lin Xian snorted coldly, and a cold light bloomed in his eyes. At the same time, a purple figure flashed nearby and quickly fled into the distance. Seeing that purple figure, Lin Xian's face darkened again. The wind and thunder wings appeared on his back, shining with mysterious runes. He flapped his wings and turned into a bolt of lightning, instantly rushing forward. When the purple figure saw Lin Xian chasing after him, his scalp went numb, and he was so scared that he almost peed his pants. That figure was none other than the House Lord of the Purple Demon House, the Purple Demon Old Ghost. When he knew that his subordinate was sent flying in front of everyone, he was instantly enraged. A little thief dared to act like a tyrant just by using the Immortal Martial Academy's name, and didn't put the Purple Demon House in his eyes. This was something that the Purple Demon Old Ghost couldn't tolerate. Therefore, he decided to personally come to Windseeker City to take down that brat and teach him a lesson. According to the bearded man's description, that brat's strength was definitely inferior to him, so he didn't have any concerns. However, as soon as he got close, he saw Lin Xian kill a 4th-level venerable with a single punch, and severely injure another 4th-level venerable with a single slash. Instantly he was stunned and his face turned green. Chapter 1002. That was a 4th-level venerable. He was an extremely powerful existence, but now he was blasted into a bloody mist by a single punch. It was too shocking. This scene deeply stimulated him. One had to know that he was also a 4th-level venerable. Although he had been in this realm for many years, he probably couldn't block that violent punch. Now he regretted it so much that he couldn't wait to go back and kill his subordinates. Fuck, this was called not strong enough. These subordinates were completely fucked up. If he didn't know and foolishly rushed forward, he would probably be the one dead now. Purple Demon was so scared that he pissed his pants. He turned around and fled. However, he didn't expect the figure behind him to be so fast and catch up to him in an instant. His scalp went numb. Just as he was about to speak, the space above suddenly fluctuated. A large azure palm had already enveloped him. Terrifying cold energy spiraled around him, forming dragon pillars and imprisoning him in the air. He resisted with all his might, but the cold energy was too terrifying. It also contained sharp sword energy, which wasn't something he could resist. In addition to the psychological trauma from before, Purple Demon didn't have the slightest bit of courage to face Lin Xian. He didn't dare to fight at all. In the next moment, Lin Xian flashed and arrived in front of him. No, it's not my fault. Feeling the other party's cold gaze, Purple Demon's hair stood on end. He hurriedly distanced himself. He didn't want to have anything to do with those black-clothed men. It's not your fault. Lin Xian's expression was cold. It's indeed not my fault. I'm the Lord of the Purple Demon House. I just happened to run into this incident. Purple Demon's face was helpless. Below, Wang Li and the others also rushed up. Brother Xian, he's indeed the Lord of the Purple Demon House. And those people should be assassins. As for whether they're related, I don't know. Yu Fei said. Give me some time, I'll be able to find out. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded. He looked at Purple Demon again. Do you know the identity of those two people? Purple Demon laughed bitterly, his eyes flashing. Looking at their figures, they're definitely assassins. There are countless assassin organizations in the Blood region, but there aren't many organizations that can use a 4th-level venerable as an assassin. I know of 2, Viper and Lifeseeker. These 2 organizations are considered relatively powerful in the world of assassins. Yu Fei, bring some people to investigate these 2 organizations. See if it's them. Subsequently, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and stared at the Purple Demon Old Ghost, asking in a cold voice, "What is your purpose in coming here?" Nothing. Purple Devil Old Ghost quickly shook his head. Originally, he had come to take revenge, but now, even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't dare to say such a thing. Ever since he had witnessed Lin Xian's terrifying strength, he no longer dared to harbor any thoughts of revenge. This was too fucking terrifying. A 4th-ranked venerable had been insta-killed. He had never seen such strength before. He had already said that as long as he could escape safely this time, He would take all the cultivators of the Purple Demon House with him, and never come back to Wind-Seeking City again. I'm just passing by. Really, I'm just passing by. Purple Fiend Old Ogre braced himself and said, I hope you're telling the truth. Otherwise, you know what will happen to you. Lin Xian retracted his frost power, and didn't pursue the matter further. He didn't want to make enemies for no reason now, so he didn't plan to pursue the matter with the Purple Demon House. Of course, if they didn't open their eyes and continued to cause trouble for him, then he would have to kill them. Seeing that Lin Xian didn't make a move, Purple Devil Old Ghost felt as if he had been pardoned. He hurriedly turned into a purple light and left the place. It's fine. You guys can continue with your work, Lin Xian said. After Wang Li and the others left, Lin Xian once again entered a nearby pavilion. This time, he let the dark red divine dragon lay down a layer of defensive array. Kid, is it okay for you to expose the red lotus gloves like this? The dark red divine dragon asked. It's fine. I'll have to use it sooner or later anyway. Moreover, this time, I think it should be able to intimidate them. I'll let them know that I Lin Xian am not easy to kill. If they want to kill me, they'll have to pay the price in blood. His voice was cold. He was too angry. The other party had actually sent 2 4th-level Honorable Realm assassins to kill him. Moreover, it was at such a critical juncture, like the establishment of the auction. It seemed that the other party was determined to get rid of him. Fortunately, his cultivation had greatly improved, and he had reached the 4th-level Honorable Realm. Moreover, he had a powerful trump card like the Red Lotus Gloves, which allowed him to escape safely. However, who was it that wanted to kill him? This made him very puzzled. If the other party was an assassin organization, they wouldn't have come to kill him for no reason. Someone must have issued a mission for those assassins to come. However, Lin Xian still had no idea who the mastermind behind the scenes was. He had many enemies, not to mention those far away. Just in Wind-Seeking City, the Huang and Lung families were eliminated by him. However, if the other party wanted revenge, they would have hired assassins long ago, and not waited until now. To act at such a critical juncture, like the establishment of the immortal martial auction, meant that the other party's goal was clear. In other words, this assassination mission was definitely related to the establishment of the auction, and the other party's goal was very likely to be the Vientiane auction. Of course, it could also be young Master Ling Feng's orders. Kid, do you have any clues? The dark red divine dragon asked from the side. A little. I guess it's the remaining members of the Vientiane auction. However, I'm not too sure. After all, if it's really them, it would be troublesome. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that it's not them. After all, I'm cooperating with the Immortal Martial Academy now. If young Master Ling Feng really wanted to make a move, he would do it secretly, and not so brazenly. Otherwise, he would be going against the Immortal Martial Academy. Lin Xian sighed. Let's wait and see what Yufei can find out. Putting this matter aside for now, Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon once again discussed the matter of formations. Moreover, not only did they discuss formations, Lin Xian also learned a lot about formations from the dark red divine dragon. Now he could also set up some formations. Of course, their power couldn't be compared to the dark red divine dragon. However, compared to ordinary formation masters, they were much stronger. In the end, Lin Xian and the dark red dragon decided on 2 formations. These 2 formations were extremely powerful. Even a 6th heavenly layer venerable might not be able to break them open. With such a strong guarantee, Lin Xian was completely relieved. Next, it was time to gather the materials and prepare to inscribe the formations. Lin Xian left the matter of gathering the materials to Wang Li and the others. As for inscribing the formations, it was up to the dark red divine dragon. Even for the dark red divine dragon, it would take a lot of time to complete these 3 formations. Lin Xian didn't care how much time it would take. What he wanted was safety. Safety. Chapter 1003. Brother Xian, these 2 organizations are too mysterious. I couldn't find out much in such a short time. Yu Fei said guiltily. However, one thing is for sure. This assassination has nothing to do with the Purple Demon House. They knew that the enemy was hiding in the dark, but they couldn't find them. This feeling was very unpleasant. It's nothing. After all, you guys just set up the intelligence network. It's normal that you can't find out anything about these kinds of assassin organizations. Lin Xian shook his head slightly, but didn't blame Yu Fei. Indeed, assassin organizations were usually very secretive. Their clients were also very careful. It was hard for outsiders to find out. How about this, you develop your own intelligence network first. If you need anything, tell Wang Li and the others. As for the assassins, let's put it aside first. You must establish a strong intelligence network in the shortest time possible. Brother Xian, I understand. Yu Fei nodded quickly. After Yu Fei left, Lin Xian's eyes turned gloomy again. Although Yu Fei didn't find much information about the assassins, Lin Xian didn't plan to let them go. Thinking about it, these people had failed once, and even lost 2 of their best men. They definitely wouldn't let this matter rest. He just had to wait for the next assassination to catch one of the assassins alive and ask. Just as Lin Xian was busy setting up the immortal martial auction in Wind-Seeking City, he suddenly received a piece of news. This news was sent to him by Morong Qingcheng. The situation was like this. An elder in Morong Qingcheng's family was a big shot in the blood realm. This time, the elder was celebrating his 800th birthday and invited many people. Morong Qingcheng, as the little princess of the family, and also in the blood realm, naturally had to go. The Immortal Martial Academy also received this news, but they were prepared to send Lin Xian. Firstly, Lin Xian's relationship with Morong Qingcheng wasn't shallow. Moreover, he was also a young genius. It was suitable for him to participate in this kind of event. Furthermore, Lin Xian had a cooperative relationship with the academy. This time, having Lin Xian go and send an invitation to the auction, he might be able to bring some important figures to the auction in the future. In addition, Lin Xian had a special status in the eyes of Dean Xian and the others, so this task was given to Lin Xian. Looking at the sound transmission jade talisman and the invitation in his hand, Lin Xian helplessly smiled bitterly. He couldn't figure out why he had to attend the birthday banquet of a powerhouse for no reason. However, the academy had already sent him an invitation, and it was an elder of the Morong family. Lin Xian could not refuse. Therefore, he left the construction of the auction house to Wang Li and Dongfang Xiong. At the same time, he also left the dark red dragon to inscribe the array. As for him, he was preparing to leave and participate in the birthday banquet. However, what made him depressed was that Morong Qingcheng had already left, so he would have to go by himself on the way. When the dark red dragon heard this news, it was unhappy and wanted to go as well. Fuck goddamn brat. You didn't bring me along when there's such a good thing. You're too despicable. The dark red dragon roared. Aren't you staying to build the array? What are you going to do? Build my ass. I haven't even gathered all the materials. What's the point of me staying here? The dark red dragon was unhappy. Don't worry. When the materials are gathered, it'll make it quickly. 3 arrays, not 1 less. The dark red dragon said as it patted its chest. Alright, it'll bring you along then. Lin Xian sighed. Let's go. Lin Xian said. Why should we go? That place is so far away. The dark red dragon showed a look of disdain. Brat, you're underestimating me. It's just a birthday banquet. Do you want us to fly there ourselves? Fuck, if you don't go by yourself, do you want someone to pick you up? Lin Xian rolled his eyes. Pick up. Teleport. The dark red dragon said. It's just a teleportation array. It won't take much time. Wait, give me some time. I'll finish it quickly. After the dark red dragon finished speaking, it went to inscribe the teleportation array. Since the dark red dragon was in charge of the itinerary, he didn't have to worry about it. What gift should he bring to the birthday banquet? After all, the other party was a king clan. He couldn't bring out ordinary things, and he couldn't bring out good things in such a short time. This was really quite troublesome. Right, concoct pills. Lin Xian slapped his head. He had almost forgotten about this matter. These days, he had comprehended the knowledge of alchemy left behind by King Pillfeather. and had a deeper understanding of alchemy. With his current strength, concocting a 7th grade pill shouldn't be a problem if he went all out. As for the materials, of course, he would ask for them from the Immortal Martial Academy. After all, this was a mission given to him by the Academy. Without any delay, Lin Xian immediately returned to the Academy. This time, he went directly to the Myriad Treasure Palace to look for Palace Master Wan. Hearing Lin Xian's request, Palace Master Wan nodded his head. We have indeed prepared a gift. However, if you insist on using a 7th grade pill, it's fine too. However, are you sure you can really concoct it? Palace Master Wan looked at Lin Xian suspiciously. In fact, a 6th grade pill was already precious. A 7th grade pill was even more precious. In the entire Immortal Martial Academy, only a few old monsters could concoct it. But now Lin Xian actually said that he could concoct a 7th grade pill? If it wasn't for Dean Xian telling him about Lin Xian's identity, Palace Master Wan wouldn't even bother with such a request. However, Lin Xian insisted. He had no choice but to give him 3 sets of materials. These are the materials you requested. There are a total of 3 sets. If you still can't concoct it after 3 tries, I think you should use the gift we prepared. Palace Master Wan said tactfully. In fact, he didn't have much hope in his heart. After all, a 7th grade pill wasn't some cabbage. It was something that only a 7th grade alchemist could concoct. 3 sets. I think it should be enough. Lin Xian scratched his head. Hearing this, Palace Master Wan's mouth twitched slightly. However, he didn't say anything. Instead, he hurriedly sent Lin Xian away. If he continued to stay, his heart wouldn't be able to take it. Looking at Lin Xian's back view, Palace Master Wan shook his head slightly. Sigh, he's still too young. Lin Xian was elated when he received 3 sets of materials. He flew towards the blazing mountain and prepared to use the flames there to concoct a 7th grade pill. Previously, he could only reach the 7th level. However, after the demon-slaying conference, his strength had increased tremendously. Now he could enter the 8th level. The 8th level was filled with a sea of fire. Purple flames danced and emitted a power that made one's heart palpitate. Even Lin Xian felt a wave of shock. He carefully searched the 8th level, looking for a suitable place to concoct pills. In the end, he came to a huge rock and sat down cross-legged. Other than being extremely powerful, the flames here had another characteristic, and that was stability. The more stable the flames, the higher the success rate of concocting pills. Lin Xian understood this point. Chapter 1004. With a flip of his palm, Lin Xian took out a set of medicinal ingredients and began to concoct. However, after half a day he sighed. The precious medicinal ingredients in front of him had already turned into ashes, scattering all over the ground. As expected of a 7th grade pill, it was indeed difficult to concoct. Lin Xian frowned. With his current strength, concocting a 6th grade pill wasn't a problem. However, concocting a 7th grade pill was still somewhat difficult. If only he had the 1,000 Beast Cauldron. Lin Xian sighed. What he lacked the most right now was a top-notch furnace. However, he only dared to think about the 1,000 Beast Cauldron and didn't dare to take it out. The terrifying aura it emitted wasn't something he could control. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian focused and prepared for his second attempt. During his first attempt, he made a small mistake, but since he had already discovered it, his strength should increase by quite a bit this time. However, just as he was about to concoct, a voice suddenly rang out in his ears. Want to concoct a 7th grade pill? I can help you. Hearing this voice, Lin Xian's hair stood on end. He quickly stood up and scanned the surroundings. At the same time, his soul force rapidly probed the surroundings. Just now, he had carefully scanned the surroundings and didn't discover anyone. Moreover, this was the 8th level of the Blazing Mountain. Very few people could come here. Other than a few elders of the Immortal Martial Academy, only Dugo Outyan and Li Yunfei could come here. However, the voice just now clearly didn't come from the two of them. Not only that, Lin Xian's face quickly darkened because he didn't sense anyone suspicious in the surroundings. Lin Xian's face was gloomy, and his heart was on high alert because he didn't sense anyone suspicious in the surroundings. This was what worried him the most. One must know that his soul force was extremely powerful. However, even he couldn't sense the other party. One could only imagine how good the other party's concealment skills were. Or it could be said that this was a supreme expert who transmitted his voice to him from extremely far away. No matter which it was, the result wasn't good news for him. Who are you? Why are you acting so sneakily? Lin Xian was on high alert. He scanned the surroundings and said coldly, "There's no need to look for me. You won't be able to find me." The voice was a little low. Hearing this, Lin Xian's frown deepened. The other party seemed to know his every move, but it seemed that he still didn't know the other party's intentions. Who are you? Why are you trying to act mysterious? If you want to talk about alchemy, you can come out for a chat. Hee, after searching for so long, could it be that you still haven't found where I am? This voice was intermittent and very low, as if it was very unstable. Lin Xian's face was gloomy, and his brows were furrowed. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat as he thought of a possibility. In the next moment, his soul power entered the mysterious small sword, wanting to find out more about it. Not bad, you finally know where I am. When the voice came out, Lin Xian was completely stunned. His eyes were filled with shock, as if he had seen something inconceivable. This was because he discovered that the source of the sound was the 10,000 beast cauldron within his body. The 10,000 beast cauldron spoke. How was this possible? Lin Xian's eyes widened, and he almost bit off his tongue. Fortunately, he was skilled and daring. Otherwise, he might have been scared to the ground by now. Soon he thought of a possibility. The dark red divine dragon had said before that heaven-defying items like a complete earth-rank artifact would usually nurture an artifact spirit. Therefore, this voice could be made by the artifact spirit of the 10,000 beast cauldron. You're the artifact spirit of the 10,000 beast cauldron? Lin Xian probed. I didn't think that someone would know about this in a small barren land. The voice sounded again. That's right. I'm the artifact spirit of the 10,000 beast cauldron. Hearing the other party's answer, Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief. Although artifact spirits were also very mysterious to him, they were much safer than unknown characters. You've always been here? He frowned and asked. In fact, Lin Xian was very curious about artifact spirits, but he didn't understand why they only appeared now. No, I just woke up from a deep slumber. I don't know how many years I've been asleep for. Of course, I have to thank you for this. If it weren't for the pure Demon King's blood in the demon blood pool, I wouldn't have woken up. Perhaps I would have continued to sleep. Demon blood pool. Hearing this, Lin Xian's pupil shrank. He finally remembered that day in the demon blood pool, when he tried to communicate with the golden ball of energy in the mysterious small sword. He didn't expect to trigger a change in the 10,000 beast cauldron. This artifact spirit should have awakened at that time. Why are you looking for me now? Lin Xian asked cautiously. Although the other party was just an artifact spirit, it was too mysterious, so he had to be careful. With your current strength as a 6th grade alchemist, it's indeed difficult to refine a 7th grade pill. No matter how talented you are, the success rate is terrifyingly low. Instead of wasting materials, why don't I help you refine it? You help me? Why? Lin Xian didn't believe in a free lunch. I am the artifact spirit of the 10,000 beast cauldron. With my help, you might be able to control the 10,000 beast cauldron. With the help of the 10,000 beast cauldron, your success rate will increase by 10 times. Could it be that you don't want to possess a true Earth-step treasure? The artifact spirit threw out a great temptation. It believed that in the face of a complete Earth-step treasure, even a king would be moved, let alone this little brat. However, Lin Xian's expression was as cold as ice. He decisively shook his head. Although an Earth-step treasure is good, I don't want to take it without knowing what it is. Oh, you refuse? This time, it was the artifact spirit's turn to be surprised. It couldn't imagine where this little boy found the courage to refuse a complete Earth-step treasure. In the face of such a great temptation, you can still maintain such composure. Rare. No wonder the 10,000 beast cauldron and King Pillfeather's inheritance fell into your hands in the end. The artifact spirit slowly said, There are naturally conditions for me to help you. I can help you refine pills, and even do other things, but you must also help me. Help you? Help you with what? Lin Xian was puzzled. He couldn't think of what an artifact spirit would need help with. To be precise, it's to help King Pillfeather. The artifact spirit said, I've been with King Pillfeather for a long time, and I know what happened to him. If you can fulfill his wish, I can help you control the 10,000 Beast Cauldron. Help King Pillfeather. Hearing this, Lin Xian said, No problem. What do you want me to help you with? Not only did Senior King Pillfeather pass down his cultivation to me, but he also left behind an alchemy inheritance. To me, he's like a master. Chapter 1005. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous. These were words from the bottom of his heart. It was because of King Pillfeather that he had been able to advance from the second heaven stage to the third heaven stage, allowing him to display his skills in the demon-slaying world. Not only that, but King Pillfeather's alchemy inheritance had also benefited him greatly. So when he heard that he had to fulfill King Pillfeather's wish, Lin Xian agreed without hesitation. Speak. What do you need help with? Asked Lin Xian. It's very simple. Return to the Pill sect as King Pillfeather's disciple, and obtain the highest honor. Pill sect. Lin Xian frowned. The Martial Sky continent doesn't have such a sect, right? Of course. The Pill sect isn't in the Martial Sky continent. Not in the Martial Sky continent? Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. Where is it then? He seemed to recall the conversation he had with King Pillfeather's remnant soul. It seemed that there was an even vaster world outside the Martial Sky continent. Could it be that the Pill sect was there? At this time, the 10,000 Beast Cauldron's artifact spirit said, Indeed, the Pill sect is in the world outside the Martial Sky continent. However, with your current strength, you definitely can't go there. Don't worry. I'll do my best to help you quickly advance. Of course, if you can control this place, that would be even better. Although this place is remote, it's still enough for the current you. Control the martial sky continent? Lin Xian almost bit off his tongue. Perhaps even those king families wouldn't dare to boast like that. Seeing Lin Xian's disbelief, the 10,000 Beast Cauldron's artifact spirit slowly said, "Don't worry. With me here, all your dreams will come true." Hearing that, Lin Xian's ambition rose. Controlling the martial sky continent and becoming the overlord of the martial sky continent was something he hadn't dared to imagine in the past. But now, he felt that it was possible. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian calmed his shocked mind and said in a deep voice, "You'd better help me control the 1,000 Beast Cauldron and refine a 7th grade pill." "That's simple," the artifact spirit of the 10,000 Beast Cauldron said. "Although I've just awakened and am still very weak, controlling the 10,000 Beast Cauldron is not a problem." Then the void rippled, and a small black cauldron flew out from Lin Xian's body, hovering in the air. With the appearance of the 1,000 Beast Cauldron, an invisible pressure suddenly spread out, causing the surrounding purple flames to become much dimmer. In fact, none of the purple flames dared to approach the 10,000 Beast Cauldron. "Now use your soul force to control it," the artifact spirit said. Upon hearing this, Lin Xian nodded. He then extended his soul power and quickly enveloped the 1,000 Beast Cauldron. This time, he felt as if everything went smoothly. He wasn't repelled by the 1,000 Beast Cauldron, nor was he affected by the pressure. "Sure enough, I can control it." Lin Xian was pleasantly surprised. The 1,000 Beast Cauldron was an Earth-rank artifact. If he could control the 1,000 Beast Cauldron to refine pills, his success rate would increase by 10 times. In other words, he could easily refine a 7th-rank pill now. "Let's give it a try." Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. He flipped his palm and took out another set of herbs. Then he focused his qi and began to refine the pill. For hours later, Lin Xian opened his eyes and waved his hand. Buzz! Suddenly, the 1,000 Beast Pavilion in front of him let out a clang and rippled slightly. Then a light purple pill appeared in the cauldron. The pill was the size of a longan fruit and was engraved with mysterious pill patterns. Looking at the purple pill, Lin Xian was overjoyed. This was a 7th-rank pill, the Purple Spirit Pill. It was a type of pill he found in the inheritance left behind by King Danyu. This pill was effective for all martial artists in the supremacy realm. Even high-level supremacies could use it, and the effect was even better. Although this pill couldn't directly increase one's cultivation and spiritual power, it could help a martial artist to quickly calm their qi and enter a very strange state. This state was the dream of all martial artists because in that state, they could clearly sense all kinds of concepts and perfect their martial souls. Therefore, although it was just a small pill, it was extremely rare and precious. Refine another one. Lin Xian was excited. Since he still had one set of materials left, he might as well strike while the iron was hot and refine them together. He did it as soon as he thought of it. Lin Xian closed his eyes again and entered the state of refining pills. Not long after, a second pill with a light purple glow appeared in his hand. Looking at the two pills, Lin Xian smiled with satisfaction. He kept one of the pills as a gift for attending the birthday banquet, and he took the other one for himself. After swallowing the light purple spirit pill, Lin Xian felt his whole body turn cold. Then, he found that his mind was abnormally sharp, as if he had entered a very strange state. In this strange state, Lin Xian felt that his perception of the various concepts and the two martial souls became clearer, and there seemed to be an indescribable understanding. This time didn't last for long, only an incense stick's worth of time, but Lin Xian knew that he had gained a lot during this time. Among them, the Ice Martial Soul and the Great Dragon Sword Soul had become more solid, and their power had increased by a lot. As for the other concepts of wind, lightning, and fire, they had far surpassed before, and there was even a trend of breaking through to become martial souls. This made Lin Xian very excited. One had to know that he already had two martial souls, and their power was countless times stronger than martial artists of the same level. If he could condense a third or fourth martial soul, his strength would be unimaginable. Of course, he hadn't heard of anyone with a third or fourth martial soul. In the Tianmu continent, having two martial souls seemed to be the limit. Lin Xian opened his eyes and stared at the floating thousand-beast cauldron in front of him. He asked, what should I call you? I can't call you an artifact spirit, right? I'm an artifact spirit, and I don't have a name. Why don't you call me Zero? Zero. Okay, I'll call you Zero from now on. Zero, I have a question for you. You said that you came from a world outside the Tianwu continent. Then do you know if martial artists can have a third or fourth martial soul? Yes, but it's exclusive to geniuses. Zero coldly replied. Hearing this answer, Lin Xian was excited. Sure enough, his guess was correct. However, from Zero's words, it seemed that there were many people outside the Tianwu continent who had multiple martial souls. Can you tell me more about it? Lin Xian asked. Okay. Zero slowly said, you know, the energy source of a martial artist's martial soul is the martial soul. As the martial soul improves, the martial artist's strength will also become stronger. However, in the end, those martial souls will undergo a transformation. Transformation? Lin Xian was puzzled. Yes, transformation. The transformation from the martial soul realm to the king realm. Once one breaks through to the king realm, the energy source will undergo a transformation again, and it will form a special domain. This domain is similar to a unique space. In this domain, the king realm is the heavens and can control everything. Of course, this domain is evolved from the martial soul. King domain. Chapter 1006. Zero's words shocked Lin Xian. He found that a new cultivation door was slowly opening in front of him. Martial spirits are the foundation of King's domain? Lin Xian's eyes flashed. That's right. Even if I don't tell you this knowledge, you will know it as your cultivation increases. However, there is a benefit to telling you in advance. That is, you can now think about what your domain should look like. What should it look like? Lin Xian frowned. He didn't understand. It's very simple. Some people have an ice martial spirit, so they can form an ice domain when they become a king. And a fire martial spirit is a fire domain. For attributes like ice and fire, if they fight, it will depend on who is stronger. There is no natural restraint, only strength. Zero's voice was extremely cold. Hearing this, Lin Xian's eyes flashed. After thinking for a moment, he said slowly, these should be the domains formed by martial artists with a single martial spirit. You are very smart. You guessed right. These are indeed the domains formed by martial artists with a single martial spirit. Zero said. What about dual martial spirits, or multiple martial spirits? Lin Xian asked. It's the same. No matter how many martial spirits you have, they will all form a domain in the end. Of course, different martial spirits form different domains with different strengths. I'm afraid you have already sensed how strong your dual martial spirits are. It should be very easy for you to defeat martial artists of the same level. Seeing Lin Xian nod, Zero continued. And once it becomes a domain, if it is formed by multiple martial spirits, its strength will be like heaven and earth compared to martial artists of the same level. The more martial spirits you can condense, the stronger the domain will be when you break through to the king realm. Of course, you have to balance the strength of these martial spirits. Otherwise, the newly formed domain will collapse in an instant. After Zero's explanation, Lin Xian fell into deep thought. He already had 2 martial spirits, and he had comprehended the other 3 concepts. Moreover, he had already reached the profound realm. If he could convert the other 3 intents into martial souls, then his strength would undergo an earth-shattering change. Lin Xian took a deep breath and slowly asked, Zero, is there any cultivation method that allows one to cultivate multiple martial spirits? Yes, Ling said coldly. Also, I have to remind you of one thing. Although a warrior can cultivate multiple martial souls, one martial soul must be the main one, and the other martial souls must be auxiliary. You'd better consider which martial soul to use as your main martial soul. Yes, I know. Lin Xian nodded. What else was there to consider? Of course, the great dragon sword spirit was the most powerful offensive saint art in the world. Perhaps even Zero didn't know about it. If you've made up your mind, give me the cultivation technique. I can give it to you, but not now. Not now. When was that? Lin Xian asked with a frown. Aren't you setting up an auction? When your auction is officially established and successfully held once, I will give you the cultivation technique. Hearing this, Lin Xian rolled his eyes. Can I ask why? Yes. I'm doing this to urge you to quickly improve your strength and expand your influence. You should know that if you want to leave this place and enter the alchemy sect, you don't just need to be strong. If you don't have a strong organization to back you up, I'm afraid you won't be able to leave this place. I'll secretly help you grasp the direction and remind you what to do. Lin Xian rolled his eyes. It seemed like he had boarded a pirate ship and couldn't get out. However, he didn't regret it. His life's goal was to pursue the peak of martial arts. Now that he had a capable helper by his side to remind him, his speed would increase a lot. What kind of power do I need to leave this place? Very strong, at least an overlord-level power. When the time comes and with my help, you might be able to leave this place. Alright, I understand. Lin Xian nodded. Hearing this, it seemed like he wouldn't be able to do it in a short period of time. However, this made him heave a sigh of relief, because he still had things to do in the Tianwu continent, and he still had to return to the Tianan region to save his family. Can we communicate directly in the future? Lin Xian asked. Yes, you can communicate directly with your soul. Of course, there are some things that I may not answer you. Lin Xian was speechless. He was speechless. This thousand-beast cauldron spirit had a weird temper. Shaking his head, Lin Xian kept the thousand-beast cauldron. Then he got up and left the 8th level of the blazing mountain. This time, he didn't return to the academy, but flew directly to Windy City. Next, he just had to wait for the dark red dragon to finish inscribing the teleportation array and teleport directly. When Lin Xian returned to Windy City, the dark red dragon had already completed more than half of the teleportation array. He estimated that it would be done in another day. The next morning, the dark red dragon ran over excitedly. Kid, the array is completed. Let's go. Okay. Lin Xian nodded, then followed the dark red dragon out. The two of them came to a deserted place. On the ground, there were countless strange inscriptions, forming a teleportation array. This is a one-time teleportation array. After we leave, these inscriptions will disappear. Don't worry, no one will find out. The dark red dragon patted its chest and said, That's good. Lin Xian nodded, then walked onto the teleportation array. The dark red dragon also jumped onto it, waving its dragon claws. Suddenly, the teleportation array under their feet shone, forming a strange force that teleported the two of them away. With a flash of white light, the two of them disappeared, and the complicated inscriptions on the ground quickly disintegrated, turning into spiritual energy and dissipating in the air. Then, there was nothing left on the ground, as if nothing had existed before. It was as if a long time had passed. Lin Xian didn't know how much time had passed, until finally, with a flash of white light, he appeared again. In the next moment, he circulated the spiritual energy in his body, quickly dispelling the dizziness caused by the teleportation. The surging spiritual energy surged in his body, creating a warm energy. In an instant, Lin Xian recovered. Then, with a flash of white light, the dark red dragon appeared beside him. As soon as the dark red dragon appeared, it scanned the surroundings, then shouted, Damn, where the hell is this place? Lin Xian's eyes were gloomy, and his face was gloomy. This was because the surroundings were not very good. It was a little dark, and the air was mixed with a trace of cold blood. At first glance, one could tell that this was not a good place. Lin Xian gritted his teeth and asked, Ruffian Dragon, where did your teleportation array teleport us? Of course it's Crimson Crescent City. Aren't you going to attend the birthday banquet there? The dark red dragon was a little guilty. This is Crimson Crescent City? Chapter 1007. This is Crimson Crescent City? Lin Xian looked around and rolled his eyes. You better give me an explanation. Well, the dragon said awkwardly. I haven't fought for a long time, and my strength has been greatly reduced recently. Maybe there was a small mistake when I was setting it up. Pfft. Lin Xian spat out a mouthful of blood. A small mistake? He glared at the dragon. He did not expect this guy to be so unreliable. He even made a mistake in setting up a teleportation formation. One had to know that this was teleportation. The slightest mistake could cause a huge difference in the outcome. Lin Xian could only pray that the dragon did not make too many mistakes. Otherwise, they might not even be in the blood realm anymore. Lin Xian looked around with a gloomy face. Damn that dragon. I don't know what mistake it made to be teleported to such an obscure place. Looking around, it was obvious that this was not a good place. Impossible. I only made a small mistake. It's impossible for me to be teleported so far away, the dragon said. Kid, don't worry. This place is definitely very close to Crimson Crescent City. I hope so. Lin Xian sighed. However, there was nothing he could do. He could only walk outside to see what this place was. Lin Xian looked up and found that it was a little dark. It was not the sky. He guessed that they were most likely in a building or a cave. However, the more he walked, the more confused he became. This was because he saw rows of black mountains in front of him. They were extremely dark, like demonic mountains in hell. There were dark trees growing on the mountains, and they emitted a strange aura. There were also some dilapidated palaces around. They were covered in spider webs, and it was obvious that they were very old. Looking at the eerie scene around him, the dragon felt a chill run down its spine. The two of them did not say anything and quickly ran forward. Soon, they arrived at the foot of the nearest mountain. Standing at the foot of the mountain, the eerie aura was even more terrifying. Fortunately, Lin Xian was strong. He channeled the spiritual energy in his body and formed a barrier to block the terrifying aura around him. The dragon had thick skin and was naturally not afraid of the aura. The two of them stood at the foot of the mountain and looked up. This black mountain peak wasn't very tall. It was slightly shorter than a normal mountain peak. There were a few palaces on it, but they were all in ruins. I think we've arrived at an ancient place. This should be the ancient underground world. Underground world. Lin Xian frowned. Yes, it seems so, said the dark red divine dragon. Shall we go up and take a look? All right. Lin Xian was curious, so he also wanted to go up and take a look. After the two of them finished their discussion, they walked along the path towards the black mountain peak. However, not long after they ascended the mountain peak, the two of them were unable to continue. The reason for that was because piles of bones would appear on the winding mountain path from time to time. These were all human bones, and many of them were emitting a faint light. One could imagine how powerful these people were when they were alive. However, even so, those people had become a pile of bones. Lin Xian's hair stood on end, and he didn't dare to go any further. The dark red divine dragon was also bewildered. However, it soon became excited because it smelled a faint medicinal fragrance on the mountain peak. Boy Lin, let little white out quick. The dark red divine dragon couldn't wait. However, before Lin Xian could react, the little white monkey flew out of the demonic beast pouch. It also looked at the mountain peak and chirped nonstop. However, to Lin Xian's relief, the little white monkey didn't act rashly this time. As if it was afraid of something. It only scratched its ears and cheeks, but it didn't fly out. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Otherwise, if he let the little white monkey fly out from such a dangerous place, the result would be very dangerous. Boy, don't you smell it? That's the smell of supreme-grade spiritual medicine. The dark red divine dragon said excitedly. I smell it, but how do we go up? Lin Xian shrugged. He didn't want to take the risk. Wait. The dark red divine dragon began to carefully explore the front. Then it frowned and said, there are inscriptions on the ground. These inscriptions are very ancient. One look, and you can tell that they're ancient inscriptions. I think this is a killing formation. After the dark red divine dragon finished studying the inscriptions on the black mountain peak, it suddenly jumped up. Damn, this is an ancient killing formation. It didn't dare to move recklessly. Hearing this, Lin Xian's face darkened. He hugged the little white monkey tightly, afraid that it would run out in excitement. At the same time, he glared at the dark red divine dragon. This ruffian dragon was too unreliable. It actually teleported him into a killing formation. Hee hee. The dark red divine dragon laughed dryly, then said, although it's an ancient killing formation, the inscriptions are very dim. I think its power has weakened under the influence of time. Give me some time. Maybe I can break it. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth twitched when he heard this. Give you time? The last time I gave you time, you were teleported into this killing formation. Now that I give you time again, who knows what kind of trouble you'll cause again? Forget it, this place is too dangerous. Let's quickly retreat and find a way out. Little Xian, you're too cowardly. The dark red divine dragon said disdainfully. This should be an underground world, and the way out is above. But do you really want to give up on those spirit herbs? According to my experience, those are already extinct. You can't see them in the outside world at all. Moreover, they're at least a few thousand years old. They're really supreme grade spirit herbs. Oh right, don't you still have the mysterious jade platform? Why don't we try it? If there's a problem, we can immediately use the mysterious jade platform to escape. Hearing this, Lin Xian was also a little tempted. After thinking about it, he finally nodded. Okay. Seeing that Lin Xian agreed, the dark red divine dragon was also excited. Don't worry, we won't go to those places with palaces. We'll only pick the supreme grade spirit herbs nearby. Then, it led the way, and Lin Xian followed behind with the little white monkey in his arms. Fortunately, the dark red divine dragon was a formation expert, and it had a way to break the mysterious inscriptions underground. The two walked for more than 10 meters, and did not find any danger for the time being. However, at that moment, the 10,000 Beast Cauldron's weapon spirit, 0, in Lin Xian's body issued a warning. Kid, if you don't want to die, hurry up and go down the mountain. Hearing this warning, Lin Xian's heart trembled, and at the same time he shouted, retreat. Then his body swayed, and he retreated like a bolt of lightning. Seeing this, the dark red divine dragon had no choice but to quickly leave. However, when they reached the bottom of the mountain, the dark red divine dragon began to complain. Little Xian, you're too cowardly. We're already halfway. Why did you have to come down? If we hang on a little longer, we might be able to pick a supreme grade spirit herb. I'm afraid if we stay any longer, we'll lose our lives, Lin Xian said snappily. Chapter 1008. I'm afraid that if we stay any longer, we'll be dead, Lin Xian said in a huff. If you don't believe me, feel your body. After saying that, Lin Xian ignored it and focused on running the longevity chant, allowing the spiritual power to circulate fully in his body. The dark red dragon was puzzled and quickly checked its body. Then its face turned pale. I'm poisoned. When did this happen? It was shocked because it did not know when it was poisoned. Moreover, the poison had already accumulated in its body. Just as Lin Xian said, if they stayed on the mountain for any longer, the poison in their bodies would completely erupt. If they could not suppress the poison, they would be in danger. The dark red dragon did not dare to be careless. It quickly activated a secret technique to expel the poison from its body. The little white monkey was also hugging the small worn-out bowl and mumbling nonstop. On the surface of its body, a layer of pure white light bloomed. After a while, Lin Xian opened his eyes and breathed a sigh of relief. The poison in his body had been completely removed. However, the scene just now made him extremely vigilant. If it was not for Zero's secret warning, they would have been in real danger. Damn it, this place is too creepy. The dark red dragon opened its eyes and mumbled. Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon managed to purge the poison from their bodies, narrowly avoiding the calamity. Damn it, this place is too creepy, the dark red dragon mumbled. Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together as he looked forward once again. I think that the corpses on the mountain path are all the warriors who were poisoned. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. There must have been people like them who wanted to go up the mountain to pick supreme-grade spiritual herbs. However, these people were all infected by the poison and could not be cured. In the end, they died on the mountain. There were probably not many lucky people like them. However, the little white monkey did not give up. It hugged the small worn-out bowl in its hands and started mumbling. Then, the small bowl emitted a mysterious power that surged toward the black mountain. Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon held their breaths and waited patiently, because they knew the power of the treasure basin. Perhaps it would be of use here, and they would be able to obtain 1 or 2 supreme-grade spirit herbs. The little white monkey kept waving its little paws and hitting the small bowl. Not long after, the small bowl trembled slightly, and a supreme-grade spirit fruit appeared in the bowl. It was a spiritual herb that was 10 feet tall. Its leaves were emerald green, and it exuded an endless amount of vitality. On its branches, there were 4 spiritual fruits that were sparkling and translucent, with a thick fragrance. I really got it. Lin Xian's eyes widened, while the dark red dragon god opened its mouth so wide that it reached its ears, drooling nonstop. We're rich, we're really rich this time. Kid, hurry up and get a few more. This kind of thing was definitely rare. If he didn't get it now, it would be a huge loss. The dark red dragon god urged from the side, and the snow-white little fox was also excitedly scratching its ears and cheeks. It waved its little paws and decided to show off its skills. However, on the black mountain peak in front of them, in the dilapidated palace, suddenly, there was a low sound. It was like the morning bell and evening drum. It kept ringing. The sound carried a terrifying demonic nature, causing one's heart to beat uncontrollably. Lin Xian's expression changed drastically, because he felt the blood in his body boiling, and his heart felt like it was about to explode. Fortunately, his body had been strengthened by so many natural treasures, and his physique was extremely tough. At that moment, he was able to withstand the demonic sound. However, all the hair on his body stood on end, and his back was covered in cold sweat. In the next moment, he quickly activated the Red Lotus armor and covered his entire body. The dark red dragon god's scalp was also numb. It jumped into the Red Lotus armor's defense and looked ahead in shock and bewilderment. What's that? Lin Xian asked in a low voice. Damn it, there are living things in this place. Little Xian, let's go. The dark red dragon god didn't want to stay a moment longer. It didn't want any supreme-grade spirit fruits anymore. The little white monkey also quieted down. It sat on Lin Xian's shoulder and blinked its big black eyes as it looked ahead. A living thing. Hearing that, Lin Xian's expression turned ugly. Without another word, he quickly retreated. It was obvious that this was a place of great danger. So many powerhouses had died on the Black Mountain Peak. However, at that moment, a living thing had appeared in the dilapidated palace on the Black Mountain Peak. Regardless of whether it was a human or not, it was extremely dangerous to them. Therefore, Lin Xian didn't hesitate. He turned around and quickly left. However, just as he moved, endless black gas suddenly rose from the Black Mountain Peak behind him. It formed a black demonic cloud above him that emitted a terrifying aura. A black figure flew out from the dilapidated palace and stood in the void. Demonic chi surged around him, and it was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian separated a strand of his soul and looked behind him. He immediately felt his scalp go numb. The black figure behind him was a person. However, it didn't look like a living person at all. He was surrounded by demonic chi. His eyes were hollow, and there were green flames dancing in his eye sockets. His entire body was extremely rotten, and he emitted a strong corpse stench. Damn it! Could this be a mutation caused by some powerhouse's corpse? The dark red divine dragon was also shocked because the aura of the figure behind him was too terrifying. Zombie! It's definitely a zombie. Kid, hurry up and leave. The figure behind him was wearing an ancient robe. He was extremely tall, and must have been a peerless figure when he was alive. However, at that moment, he was emitting a cold and gloomy aura. He looked extremely ferocious. Then the ancient zombie took a step forward. Suddenly the void cracked. Countless black cracks spread out in all directions, and a huge black hole appeared in the entire space. Seeing this, Lin Xian didn't dare to stay any longer. He used an earth tear movement technique and turned into a beam of light to retreat. At the same time, he raised his hand and threw out a profound jade platform to quickly teleport away. A terrifying figure who could shatter the void with a single step and create an endless black hole was definitely extremely powerful. It was far from what he could fight against now. As expected, the moment Lin Xian stepped onto the profound jade platform, a huge demonic claw descended from the sky and slammed down. Bang! The void in front of him cracked, and a terrifying black vortex appeared again. Fortunately, Lin Xian and the others had already been teleported away by the profound jade platform. According to Lin Xian's guess, they had come to an underground world. Therefore, they tried to teleport upwards this time. With a flash of light, Lin Xian and the others appeared on the ground. Lin Xian only breathed a sigh of relief when he stepped on solid ground. However, he didn't dare to stay here. Instead, he quickly flew forward for dozens of miles before stopping. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.